Radio Biafra International, empowering the people. Radio Biafra International, empowering the people.
Stop spending time with the wrong people. Life is too short to spend time with people who suck the happiness out of you. If someone wants you in their life, they'll make room for you. You shouldn't have to fight for a spot. Never ever insist yourself to someone who continuously overlooks your worth. And remember, it's not the people that stand by your side when you're at your best, but the ones who stand beside you when you're at your worst that are your true friends. Stop trying to be someone you're not. One of the greatest challenges in life is being yourself in a world that's trying to make you like everyone else. Someone will always be prettier. Someone will always be smarter. Someone will always be younger. But they will never be you. Don't change so people will like you. Be yourself, and the right people will love the real you. Stop trying to hold on to the past. You cannot start the next chapter of your life if you keep rereading the last one. Stop being scared to make a mistake. Doing something and getting it wrong is at least 10 times more productive than doing nothing. Every success has a trail of failures behind it, and every failure is leading towards success. You end up regretting the things you did not do far more than the things you did. Stop getting involved in relationships for the wrong reasons. Relationships must be chosen wisely. It is better to be alone than to be in bad company. There's no need to rush. If something is meant to be, it will happen at the right time, with the right person, and for the best reason. Stop rejecting new relationships just because old ones didn't work. In life, you'll realize that there's a purpose for everyone you meet. Some will test you, some will use you, and some will teach you. But most importantly, some will bring out the best in you. Stop trying to compensate against things that are not there. And stop trying to compete against everyone else. Don't worry about what others are doing better than you. Concentrate on beating your own records every day. Success is a battle between you and yourself only. I just have to repeat this. This warrants a repeat. Stop trying to compete against everyone else. Don't worry about what others are doing better than you. Concentrate on beating your own records every day. Success is a battle between you and yourself only. Life is too short to spend time with people who suck the happiness out of you. If someone wants you in their life, they'll make room for you. You shouldn't have to fight for a spot. Never, ever insist yourself to someone who continuously overlooks your worth. And remember, it's not the people that stand by your side when you are at your best, but the ones who stand beside you when you are at your worst, that are your true friends. Stop spending time with the wrong people. Life is too short to spend time with people who suck the happiness out of you. If someone wants you in their life, they'll make room for you.
Radio Biafra is proud to launch its new mobile app. This app makes it easier for listeners to access live and repeat broadcasts at any given time. The app is available on Android and Apple stores and is free to install, so just search for Radio Biafra into all one word to get the app on your device.
Radio Biafra International broadcasts are always anchored on well-researched information and not based on personalities, frivolities, and foul languages. The main objective of Radio Biafra International is to empower Biafrans and give them knowledge through professionally delivered information, education, and enlightenment towards the ultimate goal of restoration of the nation of Biafra.
So don't forget, Radio Biafra into all one word.
And join us during our podcasts, and you'll be glad you did.
Master 2020. I can champion of Bakola when on the rock before you became with you. This of what is stay safe, we must have coronavirus money before one. Before they see about holiday now, or can see that idea. I want to know what before you became with you.
Radio Biafra International, empowering the people.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to our listeners all over the world. My name is Odi Moralu, and this is Radio Biafra International, brought to you by the Biafran Restoration Movement. Today is August the 22nd, 2020. You can get us through different platforms such as internet, Facebook, YouTube, RBI app, tuning app. We are on satellite, actually. And you can simply Google Radio Biafra International to get further information is necessary, which you can connect to this radio station. We will, as usual, be bringing some very important issues up in the broadcast today, and we'll be having our guest analysts, as usual, to look into it. This is a very critical time in our lives as a people, and we want to make sure that we keep our people aware of events that will affect our lives. We cannot classify them anymore as may, but that's things, events that are actually affecting our lives today. So you can be connected to the station by dialing certain numbers. If you're in the US, you can dial +1 512 647 1431. If you're in the UK, you can dial +44 203 885 2179. If you're in France, you can dial +49 89 380 387 19. You can dial us if you're in Netherlands with +31 85 208 1541. You're in Spain, you can be connected to us by dialing +34 293 205 409. You're in Canada, you can call us in by dialing +1 437 538 3987. If you're in Australia, you can dial +61 871 501136. You're in Brazil, you can dial +5521 350 0112. And you're in Japan, you can be connected by dialing +81 345 10 2372. And like I said before, you can Google Radio Biafra International for more details regarding this radio station. We are global, as you well know. This is an age of globalization, and our broadcast comes in to be connected, most importantly, to our people, our fellow Biafrans all across the globe. My name again is Odi Moalu, and I'm your broadcast anchor today. And like I said, with me will be an array of educated and informed Biafran panelists who will be adding to this broadcast. We inform, we educate, and we persuade. And we do that because we know that everything that man does is based on the information he has, is based on how educated he is on that issue. And we also know that if we persuade our people towards what is right, that it will be well with us, ultimately as a people. So we enjoin you to listen in as we raise pertinent and relevant issues in our lives and times. Before we get into the news items, we will always say a prayer. As you well know, we are a spiritual people. First and foremost, we are a spiritual people. We are Israelites, we are Hebrews, and we pray to the God of Israel, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Pray to the God that created the heavens and the earth and all that is beyond. So let us pray. Our Father and our God, Jehovah Elohim, Jehovah Adonai, we, Biafrans, worship you. We acknowledge you. We exalt you. We magnify you. There is none like thee, O Lord. We are calling on you, O Lord, to remember your mercy. Remember your mercy towards our fathers. Remember, O Lord, your goodness. Remember, O Lord, the covenant which you have with our Father. We look to you, O Lord, for deliverance. Look to you for salvation. That by the power of your right hand, O Lord, you will bring your people out of oppression. You and you alone do we exalt. All the praises shall be yours, not man, for you will not share your glory with any man. As we speak, Father, speak through us, and let our people listen to your word. May we be dedicated to your word as a people. May we study your word. May we obey thee, that it might be well with us as a people on this earth. And may also your light shine amongst our people so much so that it will affect all the nations and all the peoples. May we eschew idolatry and eschew sin in all its ways. May they never be justified in our culture, in our thinking, in our acting, in all that we do as a people. Only you be exalted. Praise be to the Lord, the God of Israel, because he has come, has redeemed his people. He has raised up a horn of salvation for us in the house of his servant David. He said through his holy prophet of long ago, salvation from our enemies and from the hand of all who hate us, to show mercy to our fathers, to remember his holy covenant, the oath he swore to our father Abraham, to rescue us from the hand of our enemies and to enable us to serve him without fear, in holiness and righteousness before him all our days. Amen. And that last scripture was read from Luke 1:68 to 75. Okay, today, before we get into other topics, there is a very important information that we skipped it all over the weeks or months, actually, an information. Biafran related to Biafran issues directly, obviously. And that is, we mourn the loss of one of Biafran heroes. You remember the last time we had done a broadcast on the loss of one of our, two of our great heroes. One was Engineer Clement Onyemelukwe. We call him the father of electricity in Nigeria. And he also was the one who directed the construction of 5 airports, including the Uli Airport, with which Biafra survived and sustained the onslaught of world powers, Arab nations, 5 other African countries, and all of Nigeria practically against them for 3 years. So we honored Clement Onyemelukwe, and we just don't honor them, we honor the life of all those who labored to build that airport, those airports, all of them. We remember them. We remembered our another hero, Colonel Ahanya, who headed the research and production department, military division, and his sacrifices to sustain our people at a very critical time in their history as a people. And today, we will also mourn and remember Colonel Lambert Ihanacho. He was retired from the Nigerian Army in 1990, and he was famously known as the last Biafran Army Field Commander, and had commanded the famous 63rd Infantry Brigade, which recaptured Owerri from the Federal Forces in 1969. He stated himself in an interview regarding Nigeria that nothing has changed after the war, as the Southeast has not really been reintegrated in the political structure. The Southeast is Biafra. And that was an interview, some questions which he was asked, and these were the answers that he gave. And I would like us to listen very carefully to this. He pointed out that the Civil War was imposed on the then Eastern region by the federal government led by General Yakubu Gowon, because the Eastern region did not cause the war, and that the people fought simply to defend themselves from being wiped out from the face of the earth. And note that phrase, being wiped out from the face of the earth. It shows the ferocity, the sinister intent of those who attacked us. They didn't just attack us to defeat us. They hated us so much that they actually intended to wipe us out of the face of the earth. And this is coming from a Biafran military officer. Ihana just said, the Civil War, I quote, the Civil War was levied on the former Eastern region, and especially on Igbo, by General Yakubu Gowon, and those of us who had escaped the killings of Igbo army officers in Kanu by the special grace of God had to join in the fight for survival. However, Nigeria had won the war in 1970, and immediately Gowon declared that there is no victor, no vanquished policy, which was just a ruse, because the Eastern region was really vanquished. The 3 R's, which is reconciliation, rehabilitation, and reconstruction, was never implemented by Gowon, who had initiated the policy in the first place at least not in the devastated eastern region. This is the first sign of not being true to their word. And this 3 hours reconciliation, rehabilitation, and reconstruction was a policy which the Nigerian government supposedly adopted after the war. And this is what Lambert Ihanacho is telling us, that it was a ruse, that they did not implement not one aspect, an iota of it, in Biafra land. I go on, he says, Gowon rather went ahead to create states, and the Igbo were left in one state called East Central State, because Gowon never deemed it fit to create more states in Igbo land to put it at par with the other regions. That was the beginning of the political and structural marginalization of the Southeast. Even those of us who were reabsorbed into the army at the end of the Civil War were only allowed to remain on the former ranks and were not promoted for 3 years. Here, I just said the alienation of the Igbo by successive governments, in line with Gowon's policy of not integrating them into the political and economic structure of Nigeria, has been fueling the agitation in Igbo land. Now, Kanu, Katsina, and Jigawa states have more local governments than the entire Southeast. It is Gowon who disorganized Nigeria because he failed to do the right thing and imposed on Nigeria the lopsided structure. Today, it is only the Southeast that are only 5 states against other zones, with 6 and 7 states respectively, which is obviously that the Southeast is still being treated as a conquered people. This is what this famous hero, the last Biafran field commander, Colonel Lambert Ihanacho, said in an interview with the Sun newspaper on January the 17th, 2020. So he passed on a couple of months ago. And of course, he will be in our archives, definitely. And it's important to understand that the description of Ihanacho as a soldier by the Biafran Army Chief, General Alexander Madiebo, called him, he was brave but tired commander. Oh, this is, and he says that Major Ihanacho was an exceptionally good battalion commander with the 53rd Brigade at Inyi, near Enugu. Ihanacho hails from Mbise. The Mbise today is in the state we call Imo State. Some of these names which they gave us, and you heard Ihanacho mentioning about the structure. That's why we must be conscious about people giving us names. From the name Nigeria, which is a problem that we have, and then they divide us into different. They call us the Central State, Eastern Region, now in Southeast. Then we have some that are called South, and just all these divisions. And the problem is that when they give you a name, somebody gives you a name, you take that name, you begin to think think differently. Your name affects your thought. That is very important. That is why, in most cases, in Biafra land, when we have a child, we give him a name or her a name that is associated with God, because God is your maker, so that it affects their journey in life. The child is very conscious of his maker as he's growing up or she's growing up, and it helps him to walk on the path of righteousness. Remember, this is Biafra. This is the Biafran tradition. So Iheanacho eventually led the 63 Brigade, I think towards the end of the war. And it's important to understand that the memory of these heroes of Biafra will not be lost in any way, shape, or form. We will preserve it we will preserve it for our posterity, and it is our duty, it's our responsibility to do so. And it's important that we teach our young ones to do the same. We have to, as we preserve our knowledge of God, our worship of God, the things that we do as Israelites. We also will have to pass this one on to our children. So may God bless his soul and receive him and bless his family for the sacrifice which he gave for this existence of our people. We appreciate it. It is priceless. Just as the sacrifice of those who fought under these brigades is priceless to us, each and every one of them. It is very important that if you're a Biafran, wherever you have a Biafran soldier, please honor that Biafran soldier. We must honor our own. We must honor our own. If we don't, there are spiritual implications of not doing that. As I said before, Jesus Christ said, no greater love has a man for his friend than he gave his life for him. And if somebody or some people have given their lives for you, I mean, you understand that it's on your own part to honor that sacrifice. If you don't do that, it will have implications. And we must not go that path at all as a people. We must not go the path of forgetting those who have sacrificed for us, so even their own lives. We must not go that path at all costs. We honor God, we worship God, but we must also remember those who have sacrificed. For it takes also the fear of God in people for them to rise and fight against an enemy. And the enemy comes to steal, to kill, and destroy. And in those who stand up to it, you have to honor their sacrifice. It is highly important. Just as the Bible tells us about honoring our father and mother, that our days might be long. We must honor our parents. We must also honor the elderly. Those who are elderly, they have been in this world longer than us. And when we see that, we must honor them. That is the important thing to do. Not honoring people because they are rich or because they have a title or because they have a certain political position. That is completely wrong. That is the wrong honor. And when such things are exalted in a society, it becomes of a great spiritual destruction to the group. All right. We want to read some news that comes from Punch. Punch newspapers. It talks about COVID-19 trials, which they said will begin soon. COVID-19 trials. They said will begin soon in 13 states. It says that the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 in Nigeria on Thursday said investigational drug trials would soon start in 22 sites scattered across 13 states of the Federation. The task force's national coordinator, Sani Aliyu, said this during a press briefing by the task force. Aliyu said 22 sites cutting across 13 states of the Federation had been approved for the exercise. He did not name the states, but explained that all necessary regulatory approvals had already been secured for the trial. He stated, as you are aware, Nigeria has registered for the WHO Solidarity Trials, which are a multi-country trial where the standard of care in the country is compared against some investigational drugs such as remdesivir, interferon beta, a monoclonal antibody. This is in a bid to get the best drugs to cure COVID-19. So far, 22 states from 13 states have been registered for the trial, and the necessary regulatory approval from NAFDAC, the National Health Research Ethics Committee, has been secured. The trial would soon commence. He said the Nigeria Center for Disease Control and the National Institute for Pharmaceutical Research and Development, the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, the Nigerian Institute of Medical Research, and other tertiary institutions have been actively involved in pursuing research in accordance with their mandates of establishment as soon as the COVID-19 pandemic was declared by the World Health Organization. The Minister of Health, Osagie Ehanire, said Nigeria had so far tested 366,244 persons. He said among those who tested positive, male preponderance remained high. Male preponderance remained high, with more infections in the age group between 50 years, but more fatalities in the higher age brackets and among the vulnerable. The task force's chairman, Boss Mustafa, disclosed that 14 out of the 985 COVID-19 deaths so far recorded in the country were medical doctors. Mustafa, who is also the secretary to the government of the Federation, said the best tribute that could be paid to the deceased was for Nigerians to follow guidelines and avoid further fatalities. He said, this morning, Nigerians woke up to the stark reality that our confirmed cases of COVID-19 have crossed the 550,000 mark, standing at 50,488, and a death toll of 985, bringing us close to the unenviable record of 1,000 fatalities. 14 of those that paid the supreme sacrifice were doctors who toiled daily to save lives. The most edifying tribute and respect we can pay to these people is to do the basic minimum in avoiding such fatalities. Okay, so we will discuss this, and I would like, we talked about Lambert-Eharner announced trials with on COVID-19. Why is it a trial? Something that you're trying, does that suggest you're sure of the results already? Why should it be trials actually being conducted on people? Mazi Jofo Chinanwata is there to give us an analysis on this. First, on Lambert-Eharner chose great sacrifice for people and COVID-19. Mazi Chinanwata, Chinanwata is a pillar of the Biafran restoration movement. He's an intellectual of no mean feat, I'll tell you that. And when you listen to him, you will not be surprised that I already told you. So, Mazi Chinanwata, please, if you can speak to these issues for our listeners. Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning, my brother. Good morning, all of you. You are very, very kind. The first item on the news I did not get seemed because of taking it to the forum. However,
Yeah,
the
it's on
text
Lambert Ihanacho.
yes, I
Lambert
was not
Ihanacho was
aware
a
of.
Biafran colonel that line. Oh, okay. Go on.
Yeah, but the thing is, we know very well that third world countries has actually been known to be a lab, if I may use that word, a testing ground for the developed world to see, they are guinea pigs. They're used as guinea pigs to be able to facilitate or maybe find out what they are looking for that will benefit themselves or benefit mankind. So when you hear that Africa is to their interest, that is best for their interest, when the Europeans, the president or the Queen of England comes and says Nigeria is vital to our interest, what in a sense they mean and what they are saying is, yes, we need your people to be alive and docile so that we can use your resources for our own good, and we can use your people as guinea pigs, and so we can use your people as whatever we want to do. So that's basically what it is. So I cannot put any serious stock on this test. The test has not manifested in any known world. So I don't know if it is Nigerian scientists that are coming up with these tests or coming up with these medications or whatever it is. I bet it is from European countries. Europe has never meant any good to Africa. And it's very, very surprising that our leaders have failed to understand that and do exactly what is needful. You can't contrast it to Asia. They cannot try what they are trying in Africa, in Asia. They cannot, because Asians know better, and Asians will not allow it. And Asians have actually cultivated the habit of looking out for themselves. But Africans are still in the spirit of selling one another and selling their resources for nothing, and basically throwing Africa on the bus, because everything about Africa is no good. Europeans are good, Asians are beautiful, and Africans are ugly. So that's the mentality of these people. And our leaders have failed to understand that this is the politics of the world and do something to protect their own people. So it's very sad. It's hard for the people. And that's why we pray, and that's why we fight, and that's why we are begging and we are doing everything for our people to be informed. Because there is a music that plays on Radio Biafra International that the coming of Biafra is actually the resuscitation for Africa. If Biafra fails to come, Africa is doomed for life. As simple as that. So it is done on us to bring Biafra, because when Biafra comes, a lot is going to be corrected. A lot of all these past errors will not be allowed to continue. And that's why maybe the world is gagging up against Africa, against Biafra, and then everyone is turning a deaf ear, and we are getting all this media blackout, as if what we are saying, nobody is listening or nobody cares. But people care, because if nothing else, as Biafrans must care. And if we care in getting Biafra, I can assure you that we will get Biafra. Thank you again, my brother Omar Alufo. I am still standing by. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that comment regarding that. Our people, please be very wary about people using you as guinea pig. Like you had Mazer Shinawata say, which is very correct, and we have it in record books and in history books and even on current affairs, that Western Europe has only exploited Africa for the past 500 years and still going on. When you know you're exploited, the problems we have is that there are other Africans who now aid foreigners. Now China has come in and so on and so forth, just simply to exploit their people. Um, why should someone allow? And this is the importance of education. You know, why is it that you have countries where you have engineers and professionals, and they don't depend on them to do certain things? Why are we not conducting medical research? You know, or even on vaccines and so on and so forth. Why can't you build labs and have your own doctors conduct on research? The cure for this disease, they will go to Africa, get the resources from it, and then sell it to the world. But then Africa, from where they're getting resources, Africans themselves cannot produce the cure. But you know, and this shows you the mindset of most African leaders. This thing is terrible, and it is not also, it's not an accident anyways. For those of you who don't know, these things were also engineered by the West. They ensure that the people who lead in these countries are people who can kowtow to their interests, who they can use to serve their own interests simply, not the interests of the people there, but their own interests. That is why you have African leaders trooping to the West to say they're looking for funds and so on and so forth. And they are manipulated, you know, eventually to give up the future of their people because, oh, well, you need aid, you need this, you need what you need is there with you. But some of them do not have that ability to understand that, you know, use your own mind. If you don't have the mind, if you're in Botswana and you don't have the mind, you don't know what to do. Don't tell me everybody in Botswana don't know what to do or how to handle that issue. You know, and what about your neighbors in Zimbabwe, in Zambia? You know, if you're in Nigeria and you tell me you can't get somebody from Ghana to come help you, or from Sierra Leone, or from somewhere, you know, why don't you hire expats from there? Why does the name expat only to do with only European? This is the terrible mentality that has, you know, couched Africans to make them mental slaves, you know, to these people. People who perpetrated slavery on you. According to their own account, 14 million people in 450 years left the shores of West Africa. Some people you're going back to take take a loan from, you know, like we have in Nigeria, you know. Well, the people who are leading Nigeria are not, they were foisted on also by the British people, you know, the Fulani people. What they are there is simply, they are also colonizers. The Fulani are colonizers. That is why you see all these things happening. You're conducting a trial. What do you mean a trial? What do you mean a trial? A trial should have been, you should have finished doing that already. You should have been sure what you're doing. Now they're going to use us as guinea pigs again, and you never know what is planted in those things. They will use it, and then they will go for their enemies. And like we say, it's Southeast, they want to come to Southeast. That's why we sound a note of warning to our people. We have to be very careful. We have to be very careful. You know, these vaccines, they might, nobody knows. We've heard about vaccines that can even cause a lot of health problems for you. It can also cause even the epidemic to be worse. Can bring new sorts of viruses too as well. You don't understand this. It can shorten your lifespan. It can, almost reduce. It could cause infertility for women. You know, there's so many things these peoples are hatching in the labs, you know, in certain foreign nations. But what are the Africans doing? You know, we're just there looking for who to hate. Which group are we going to hate? Because, you know, they will bring progress. That's why you're there where you are. Because even in your family, that's the same thing you're doing in your family. You're bringing it out in the national scale, and this is what is going on. You know, like we said, there is no reason why we should accept the borders created by foreigners for us. There's no reason why we should accept the name created by foreigners for us. Nigeria was a name created by foreigners. People who came and stole us. People who came and stole our resources. The borders of Africa must be redrawn. It must be redrawn. What is nations is ethnic nation, ethnicity, where people have the same language, the same culture, possibly the same answers. Because that helps them to coordinate and work together. They know how to deal with their issues. When you join them with people who the other one is different, and you have problems everywhere. Stop thinking that by you can match the whole cultures together in the name of unity. You will not. It has been proven to be impossible. Go and match the English with the French, match the Italians with the German, and you see what will happen. It will be terrible. It is also happening there, even self. I mean, how did you have the First and Second World War? 40 million people in the Second War, just like that, because they felt they were treated bad in the first, the Germans, and the madman took over the reins of power. And we saw what happened. So, this idea is, then United Nations has come up. So the idea of, okay, we can let us settle our differences. There are differences you just cannot settle. How do you settle a difference with somebody who wants to adopt Sharia law over democracy? The Sharia law is undemocratic. They are there telling you they're doing democracy, but they are implementing Sharia law, which is undemocratic. So how do you match the two? These are two contradicting ideologies, and people say, oh, well, we have to be one. Just once you say one, that is the magic. That's the magic. It's not going to work. Look at reality, and this is what Radio Biafra is persuading our listeners to understand. Look at reality. Stop thinking that Nigeria will remain as one. It will not. It will not. To remain as one, Nigeria means the devil and God can remain as one. You know it's impossible. So the problem will continue. You can hand it over to your children. You just understand that this is not possible. It is just not possible if you consider the reality of this situation, the reality of the circumstance, the reality of this story. It is that there are irreconcilable differences. They are irreconcilable. You can't reconcile them. You can't reconcile Sharia and democracy and secularism. No, because Islam, you can't reconcile Islam and Christianity. That is why those who believe in ecumenism of everybody come, every church and every mosque, every religion can be one. That is not true. They have to be apart. You just have to have respect for one another, but not to claim that you can be one. You know what that word "one" means? It means you're unified in ideology, you're unified in doctrine. If not, to bring two of you to be one, so-called one, will be causing a lot of problems. So it is a lie being told for various reasons, and often sometimes there is money associated with these issues. There are money associated with these issues. That reminds me to as we move on to the next topic, which is on the issue of the violence that is going on in southern Kaduna and in the Middle Belt generally. The violence that is going on there is unbelievable, and it has extended for quite a while now. It is time that we pay attention and talk about how can we stop this? Because that is the million-dollar question. How do you stop it? How do you treat it? How do you respond to constant violence? And this is regarding the people who believe in so-called oneness, phantom oneness. From the time that the Fulani came into Nigeria in 1804, 200 years ago, just about 200 years ago, more than 200 years ago, how have they unified themselves with the people? By killing them, by oppressing them, by imposing themselves on the people, as we can see. So when people talk about oneness, they sure to understand what they're talking about. It's very important that you weigh these issues regarding this topic about oneness and so-called unity. We sang songs in Nigeria about one unity, though tribe and tongue, in brotherhood, unity and brotherhood. What has that got to Nigeria? Millions of people dead, and more millions dying. Look, we have an ID camp. The place is in war. They wouldn't admit it officially, but even ICC, International Criminal Court, has said that Nigeria is at war. Yes, there is war going on in Nigeria. Where you have internally displaced persons up to the tune of millions of them, and more are being displaced. It's not like it stopped. Actually, more are being displaced daily. And by the violence that is actually perpetrated by people with Islamic ideology. And this is the type of people you had as rulers, Nigeria's had as rulers for a long time. I'll say this again. Islam itself is against what they see as Western values. A lot of these values were also in other places, but we see it as Western values. Democracy, Islam is against democracy. Islam is against human rights. Islam is against property rights. Islam against rule of law and free enterprise. Islam is against individualism, constitutionalism, equality, liberalism. Islam is against separation of church and state, in this case, mosque and state. In other words, secularism. He's against it. The religion of Muhammad, its model had already condemned infidels to death, not at the hands of Allah, which is their God, but at their own hands. Allah is not the same thing as God of the Bible, because it is not the same doctrines that you see in Quran that you have in the Bible. These are different. People say, "Oh well, they give zakat, they give to the poor," and so Islam gives to their own poor. They don't give to anybody else, because already within their religion, it has pronounced everybody fit for death for not believing in Islam. So that is the problem. And this is 2020, 21st century, and you have people reasoning like this, and then people talk about civilization and others. And they are the ones to jump out first to tell you, yes, we are civilized. So there's a way this religion functions in the minds of people, that in such a way that it suppresses their ability to reason properly, suppresses their ability to see themselves or put themselves in other people's shoes in order to judge issues. It suppresses their conscience. And that's why it uses fear to rule those who believe in it. The religion of Muhammad, its model, has condemned infidels to death, not at the hands of Allah, their God, but at their own hand. It takes one being brainwashed, ignorant, or technically mad, I'm telling you, to follow a model like Muhammad, who was an armed robber. He wasn't attacking caravans. Is that not armed robbery? You know that there's no Muslims, they will never accept that. Even though that's what the man did. But then they'll say, no. That's why I say he has a way of suspending reasoning in their brain, so that they will always, if you ask him a question, he jumps into something else. There's a mass murderer, massacred Jews in Medina. He fought 65 wars to spread a religion. He fought. Tell me, what war did Jesus Christ fight to spread Christianity? Sometimes when you confront Muslims, they go to the Bible. They go say, well, in Old Testament, the Israelites fought. Yes, they fought for the Promised Land. But since after they went into the Promised Land, have you seen the Jews anywhere rising up to fight a people who are not attacking them? No. The Jews did not go expansionist. They did not build an empire. So let us make this different. This difference very clear. Arabs came from Arabia. They're in Arabia. That's where Saudi Arabia today. That is Arabian Peninsula. That is where they came from. How did they occupy the whole of North Africa? How did they go all the way down to Indonesia? It's through war. So it is about imperialism. The same thing you see some of them complain about the West. They are the worst perpetrators of imperialism, because the West, when they take over, they might come for resources. They don't force you to change or repent, because after all, a lot of nations in West Africa, some of them colonized by both Muslims and the West, But the West, even though they had power over them, do not force people to adopt any form of religion, But for jihad, it's conversion. That is the main purpose of imperialism, Islamic imperialism. conversion, by force, by force. And like I told you before in the previous broadcast, that, in most Islamic nations, you can hardly propagate any other, you are not allowed to propagate any other form of religious belief. You're not allowed to proselytize. Never. It is against the law to proselytize. So, when all these excuses about that Islam is like all that thing, all that, like it's like empires, all that Western, they are not the same thing. Why we condemn Western imperialism doesn't mean that we condone. But the West moved on, by the way. The West also have these regulations. The West has democracy and human rights and property rights because as they were developing, they were adopting these ideologies to create a safer and better society, a society that can allow development and growth, society that can respect humanity. Then the humanity needs respect. You did not create people. Why are you killing somebody simply because they doesn't believe in what you believe in? If you think what you believe in is so precious, yeah, you can speak to him. You have the, but he has the right to either accept it or not. And let me tell you the truth: if what you believe in is true, more people will join it. People will join with it. But you don't need to force people to believe in what you believe in, because you that believe in that thing that you believe, how about other people force you to believe in their own? How about if they do it? You have a problem, won't you? And that's why I say sometimes their reasoning is like it's suspended. Yeah. And if it comes to power, don't tell me that Islamic nations are more powerful than Christian nations. The nations that actually rule this world most are predominantly Christian. Yeah. If they wake up one morning and say, okay, we're going to face Islam as a problem, they will have a really serious problem. But you see, most of them, even the freedom they enjoy in those societies, is not in Islamic societies. Muslims are quick to talk about rights and this, that. What about Saudi Arabia? Where are your rights if you're in Saudi Arabia? You will not speak anything as such as you're able to express your opinion. In the West, you have that freedom of expression of your opinion, of assembly, of freedom to speak, freedom of speech. You have freedom to express ideas that are not in tune with anybody's, whatever idea you want to express freely. You can't go to Saudi Arabia and doing this. And this is why they say, oh, no proselytization in this country. You see what they did? Laws in every predominantly Islamic country. No you don't speak about any language to someone else, any religion, sorry, or any belief or any philosophy. You don't share it with somebody. It has to be Islam. This is what tells you that they are afraid that people might listen, their own people might listen to something else and turn away from it. And they said, if you change, it is death. They call it apostasy. To leave the religion is a crime. Can you imagine? But somebody leaving other religions, somebody leaving Christianity is not a crime. Somebody leaving Buddhism is not a crime. Somebody leaving Hinduism is not a crime. Somebody leaving any other thing is not a crime. It is only in Islam that if you leave Islam is a crime, and the punishment, the penalty for such crime is death. What a religion. What a so-called religion. And this is what our people, some of us don't understand. And these things that are going on in Nigeria, as they're telling you, oh, we oneness, oh, this Nigeria, one Nigeria simply means they're exploiting the oil. The British has given them the edge over the rest of Nigeria, and they're exploiting the oil through that. The sins of the British will catch up with them. He's already doing so. They are battling the same Islam they went because of money. They were bought with money. Really, most of them are wearing like that. They had the Christian message, but all of a sudden, it turned into money. And let me tell you how this happened. I remember the Scandinavians. How the Scandinavians came to, I think they defeated Rome finally. I think in around 400 AD. They defeated Rome, the Scandinavians. That's how the collapse of Rome finally was in their hands. But there were Christians they took as slaves. You know that it was those Christians eventually that led to the conversion of the Scandinavians themselves. Scandinavians are like Norway, Sweden, Denmark, Iceland, and so on. So That is how it became you can see they never raised the Christians never raised any arm, no war, sword of war. It's just how they behaved that caused them to change. They changed. That's how that gospel spread into Scandinavia. And besides, Rome persecuted Christians. When Christianity started, they persecuted them, they killed them, they bring them out in the arena and release terrible animals against them. And why they laugh and joke about it. And but guess what? Before you know it, the whole Rome became Christian. Yeah, that is the power of when we talk about power. Power is not just only in the physical, but Rome changed completely. Yeah, because when you bring somebody out and you're torturing him simply because of what he believes in, yeah, you are the emperor sitting there. Everybody, yeah, they're afraid of you, but they're wondering in their mind, what did this person do? Nothing wrong, well behaved, but it's just that he believes in Christ. Okay, this man you call Christ. That's it. And that man has made him better. We have seen his actions. He's behaved much better than he was before. And you bring him out to a lion to kill. What do you think people are fools? They'll be wondering, what is they will go want to find out what is in this religion, and before you knew it, everybody else abandoned. Of course, the emperor died himself in a very ignominious way. That he killed himself or somebody killed him, however, he died of, just like most of them did, and that was it. But Christianity continued to advance. When it came to Britain, it was the same thing, and spread all over Europe. Europe took that Christianity to different parts of the world, and it came through conquests. When not conquest in the sense that they conquered for Christianity, no, they conquered for economic reasons and political reasons, which is political power and economic. They were fighting within themselves, Western Europe in particular, in terms of areas to control and control the resources as well. Sometimes they will fight themselves, just like in slavery. So it's just the resources. Europe doesn't have a lot of resources. They depend mostly on different countries, resources in different countries. Nobody's an island anyway, but the richness of places like Africa has sustained Europe greatly, to the extent that people like Mitterrand, former French prime minister, former president, has actually attested to that too, as well. I mean, the information is there. Look at their companies that are in Africa, for example, that are extracting resources from Africa. You see a lot of foreign companies there extracting resources. How many African countries do you have in America or Western Europe extracting resources? It's like zero. It's like zinc. You can't even think of it, because probably there's nothing to extract, or they will not allow you to do so for one reason or the other. So that is very clear picture of the type of relationship that Africa has with the other. So Britain actually, Britain eventually Christianity caught up with Britain, and what happened after Christianity caught up with Britain? They were doing the right thing, but oil money from Saudi Arabia, as soon as in the turn of the early 1900s, oil was discovered, I think by Thomas Dassey, I think first in Egypt. But oil has been there, like bitumen, even from ancient Egypt. They were using bitumen, but not this time using fossil fuel as energy source, for combustion to drive like cars and things like that. As soon as it started around the early 1900s, I think 1903, Thomas Dassey, when it began to explore and discover oil in the Middle East, it made Arabs very powerful. And it's this oil, through this oil sales, that they are able to finance jihad, basically. You see, they finance jihad. They build mosques all over the world, they advance jihad in several ways. So the British themselves, how did it affect the West? It affected the West because the West actually lost their religious values. That is it. When you have somebody who has not read the Bible as He did not go to school reading the Bible. Because once money comes and wealth comes, I'll tell you what happens in a society. Everybody relaxes. Nobody really cares. It is a problem. It has been a problem in history. When empires rise, they accumulate so much wealth that they forget to. It's not just accumulating wealth. You need to keep that civilization functioning. But you have to be on your toes to be able to do that too. You have to be diligent in ensuring the certain values, the values of hard work, punctuality, this, that, is able to be maintained and upheld for that civilization to, if not, it will just collapse. Because a society is not just people being in there; it's also how those people behave. So what happened to Europe was that as soon as the money came in, a lot of it also exploited from other countries, but through to spiritual things, how it happened. So my son will go to Oxford, my son will go to Cambridge, and then you send the young Churchill to Cambridge, and so he's well educated and so on. But I'm telling you, spiritual knowledge zinch, because he didn't read the Bible. So when he becomes your prime minister and the MP, now you have Muslims from different countries saying, okay, we want to come, you give them money, they'll take. Just money. Because the value is money first, isn't it? This is what we're telling our people. Be very, very careful. It will happen to you in a heartbeat before you know it. Some of us are upright now because we are suffering. But I warn you, the day you get free, God sets us free, and we just go about acting anyhow, come and see what will happen again. So because these people, they've seen wealth, they've unimaginable wealth, what they do, they relax over it. And young Churchill went to school, he became prime minister, he became MP, and so on and so forth and so forth. These are children that never taught the scriptures. They never read the scriptures. They just went to Christian school. It's different from studying the scripture when you just simply go to a school that is so-called Christian. They ask you to pray, to say these words, and you just say it. But you haven't studied the book in order to find the in-depth, the roots of this, and what actually happened. Because what Christianity does, what the Bible actually does, is the Bible is also a spiritual book, first and foremost, not just historical and a literature, but it's also a spiritual book. And let me tell you the truth, spiritual matters weigh most, and any theologian will even agree with that, and anybody who has his senses intact weigh most, because a human being fundamentally is a spirit, not just flesh. So because they don't learn that, they come up as MPs. These Muslims offer them money to build mosques, to build, in America here, the problem is there till today, where Islamic nations offer money, buy chairs in universities to propagate the Islamic cause, to propagate, and even against Israel. And what happens is that they fall for it because there's money, oil money. So when after falling for all this oil money, what happened? Your immigration policy will change. Before you know it, you're bringing Muslims in. And hence, if you go to Birmingham now, you can see the problems in Britain itself. Some of them are saying, oh, how can we practice British Islam? What is British Islam? Muslims don't care. They only know Islam is Islam. When you're in that religion, you shut your mind to reason. That is the point we are making. And they know it. That is why, few of them who want to be honest, who want to actually, they come out, even on the internet, you see them come out to challenge the issue of Christianity. But listen to those arguments, and you see how it goes. How they deny so much about what it is, what their belief is all about, how wrong it is. Why is this so? Because every human being has conscience. They are Muslims, all right, but they have conscience. They are human beings. They know right and wrong. So they cannot pretend. The problem is that most of them are there out of fear. They are held against their will. They are not supposed to ask certain questions. If they do, they know what will happen to them. They will use somebody use people as example, cut off their heads, Well, like I said, anything you want to propagate and you need force to do it, know that that thing is wrong. That is why they are using force, particularly when it's religious issues in particular. That's what we're saying. It is religious issues, something that people should either freely believe or not. Something that they have the freedom, they have the natural right of it's natural. That is inalienable. You can't separate it from the existence of that person. There are things that are given, we say God-given right. That's another way to express it. That means God gave it to you. It's not coming from a government. It's not coming from a constitution written to somebody. Our life was not created by any constitution or by any law written by somebody. And there are certain inalienable rights people have. And one is this, to hold an opinion, and that is how this human rights came up. They had to put it in writing, and almost all the countries of the world became signatories to it in these international organizations, particularly the United Nations. But what we see about Islamic countries is given in pretense. It's given hypocritically. Their own signatory is given, signatures are given hypocritically. So how can you be a signatory to fundamental human rights, but there's no freedom of speech in your country? There's something wrong with it. There's no freedom of religion. That's what this is. If you see you practicing a religion, you're in trouble. They'll persecute you. They make your life, miserable, if you survive it. So why is it? But they can also, the problem is that Muslims can go to other countries and practice their own religion without their being hounded. They're actually the ones who go there and hound other people. That's why you have a lot of this terrorism and so on. And so the West, like I said, a generation of the West came up without studying the scriptures, the Bible. So when they came up without studying the Bible, they became MPs and, government officials, mayor, this, that. So the Muslims, they have their own ways and strategies of jihad, of pushing their religion. They devise all manner of strategies. So they offer money for them. They take the money. They say, we have in our constitution freedom of religion. There's freedom of religion. Come on in. So what happens? They take them in. They were very quick. You see how bad the Western nations have treated Africa. They are very quick to admit people from Syria, but they will not be quick to admit Africans into there. The same Africans whom you depend on their resources, the same Africans that their resources have built your society. These are value systems that are just evil, completely evil. And because they do those things, they run into trouble with it. Today, they're having problem with the same Muslims they think they have an alliance with. An alliance. Just like the British formed an alliance with Muslims to fight Biafra. For what reason? Did the British not see the massacre that was there, that happened, and what happened in Nigeria? How the Igbo in particular were violated, and their brothers in the East, how they were violated. They saw it. They looked the other way. Not just that they looked the other way. They went ahead to support the perpetrators of that evil. And what happens with evil is that when you do it, it will come back to you. It must come back to you. And that's why I said they did not read the Bible, the scriptures, because if they read it, I'm telling you, they would have taken a different government policy towards the Islamic world. They will take a different government policy. Why do you have to admit Syrians when they have? Why can't you have refugee centers for them in there, right in the border there? After the war, they go back and rebuild. Why? Why not support the UN to do so? But you brought them into Europe, or every country in Europe. Now you're having problems. So you eventually actually close your policy of admitting them when the problem started popping up. What the problem that is popping up amongst them is what the belief on Islam is the problem that's been there right from Muhammad in 610 AD. The problem that lasted for almost 1,500 years now. I mean, the next 8 years will make it like 1,500 years. So it's not going away because of the fundamental error in that ideology, the fundamental error in the foundations of that ideology, which is in Islam. So Muhammad himself massacred Jews in Medina. Why? Because they chose not to believe in what you say. You massacre them. And he's all of a sudden, he's a wonderful leader. He's a leader of, this is a religious leader to follow. Why do you kill people? Because they don't want to believe in what you say. Then you kill them. These are people he admits also were people of the book. Remember? He admits that they were people of the book, because he preached for 12 years and he only got 1,500 full followers. You see the point? Then he changed and became militant all of a sudden after 12 years. So if you had gone to Medina and you spoke to Jews, the people of the book, you admit that the prophets came through them, but you said you were the last one. Why kill them? Because they don't believe in what you're saying. That's it. And then you came out violent. These are people. This is a man that is upheld as a religious leader. He was a sex slave trader, give out women simply for the sake of sexual urges. Can you imagine that? And this man is supposed to be a spiritual leader, took women from those he and his men killed for their pleasure. He married 13 women. And he became a pedophile because he married a 6-year-old little girl, Aisha, who was Abubakar's daughter. Abubakar was one of his lieutenants. He was actually the first caliph. A caliph means ruler in Islam. And they claim the marriage was consummated when the little girl was 9. This is what some Muslims say. Oh, well, the marriage was consummated when a 9-year-old girl. But these people who are defending destiny, how would they feel if they are giving up, even either you are a boy of 9 or a girl of 9, you're giving to marry somebody? They don't think. That's why I said their brain is suspended. There's something it does to their brain. They cannot put themselves in the position of the person who is a victim. All they know is all I said is correct, and that is it. Anything outside that is fit for death for that person. That's madness. Bovine madness. And which is what you see being expressed in that religion. That's why they can explode themselves out on bomb. They're going to take out that's why Boko Haram will tell you, oh, Boko Haram, book is haram. It's forbidden. Book is terrible. It's a Western education, basically. But Western education build the guns you're using, isn't it? Western education build your IEDs. Western education is what build the car you're driving. Western education build everything you're using for your violence. You don't reject that Western education. The only one you reject is book. People should not study physics, chemistry, biology, and so on and so forth. But if you're sick, if somebody gives you medicine, you want to take it. Yeah, so you can get well. That Western education we don't reject, but we will just reject Western education. And that's why I say that this religion suspends the reasoning capacity of human beings so that they can't reason properly. That's why they act that way. As long as the religion is there, that is what you get. I'm telling you that. We're talking about reform. The religion itself doesn't even allow reform. Some people Muslims want to talk about reform. They want to introduce reform one way or the other. But what you see is that what is reform for some other groups is taking it back to 7th century, how Muhammad did it actually. That is why you see all these jihadist groups everywhere, every around the country. So, what is the reform there? Where is the reform? The reform is going back to Stone Age. That is the reform. It's a big problem. I'm telling you, and this is devilish. There is no way to explain it any further. So by 1924, when Islamic Caliphate ended, because it ended with Ataturk. Ataturk was the leader of Turkey. Ataturk ended the Caliphate, and in fact, some Muslims hated him because he decided to adopt Western a Western ideology, political ideology, democracy and so on and so forth, in order to build. And of course, with it, he built Turkey. Turkey is not very developed. But what you see going on today, Erdogan, the current president, is violating human rights left, right, and center again. Because why? He wants to Islamize the whole place. He's even financing terrorism, even in Nigeria, financing Boko Haram. Erdogan of Turkey is financing Boko Haram. And look at Turkey. Now, Turkey is now going back to, it's becoming a problem. That is what happens in terms of ideas, because your ideas is what determines what are the product of your ideas. I mean, if you went to school, if you don't need to go to school to think anyway, or to have conscience, these are things that God has built into us as human beings. That you ask yourself, my thoughts, what has it produced? When I have put it in action, when you put your thoughts in action, you check the results of that. That should help you to assess what you have done and be able to know what next line of action to take. In Islam, you wonder why they don't do that. Why do they do that? In 1924, when Islamic Caliphate ended, it is estimated that 270 million people had died in 1,400 years of existence of Islam. Yet Muslims are quick to tell you it is a religion of peace. How can a religion that slaughtered 170 million people in 1,400 years, how can it be a religion? A religion that its leader fought 65 wars. 65 wars. How can it be a religion full of violence? You see the Boko Haram and all, they put somebody, even including anybody on video and then cut off the neck. ISIS does that as well. What is that? A message or to instill fear into people so that they fear. That's why I said the religion is wrong in the first place based on that. You cannot, the reason why you want to hold people with fear is because you know you're wrong. If you're right, you won't do it. If you're right, you just propagate your being right, and that's all. People will look at it. People who want to save themselves will come and join you. But why are you using fear? To use fear is a sign that what you're doing is wrong. What you believe is wrong. So, what makes a religion that has extinguished 270 million lives in 1,400 years? What has made it? What could possibly make it a religion of peace? So, lying to advance Islam is called taqiyya, legitimate doctrine. Muhammad fought 65 wars, and yet he's a role model of peace. There's something wrong with that kind of assumption. This is why they employ intimidation and fear by stating that any who criticizes this prophet, who is without verifiable prophet, will be put to death. The only one of the major religions in the world uniquely qualified with these unconscionable beliefs. Unconscionable. It is not a religion. Tell me how Hindus do this. Hindus do this type of thing. Do Buddhists do this type of thing? How many Buddhist terrorists you know? How many Hindu terrorists? How many Christians you see that carry bombs and explode everywhere, left and right and center? They will always use the argument that, well, the West bombs Iraq, bombs, and I just tell them, first of all, the West bombing and taking some of those places is condemned. But also there are also certain actions which the Arabs have taken that are very condemned. Most of these lands were not originally their own land. They took it in the first place by force. Yet they are fighting over a little strip of land called Israel, which they also took by force. There is something fundamentally wrong with this religion. Do not expect anything positive from it. You will be wasting your time on earth to do so. I will call in. So we're going to discuss Southern Kaduna, but I want to read certain things, a little bit of it. I'm just getting a background of Islam because people need to understand what we're talking about. You need to understand what are the underlying forces that drive certain behavior, either individual or collective, and that drive certain religious beliefs. If we don't study that and understand it, we will not understand what is happening to us. That's why in Nigeria people are talking about, oh, let's become one. You have the northern governor said this and that. Those governors if you ask them, they tell you the most important ideology they hold is Islam. They're not going to live it. And you want him to practice democracy. Well, but Islam is against democracy. They are two diametrically opposite ideologies. Islam does not allow democracy, but you see them claim they are practicing it. That is why it is taqiyya. It's just deception. Why are they then imposing Sharia on the state? They're imposing Sharia because Islam is against democracy. That's why you have violence all the place. The background of the problems you're having in the Middle Belt is, first of all, based on the fact that the conquest of Islam, remember when the Fulani came in 1804, they conquered the Hausas and some of the natives who were in the north and imposed their mayors on them, including Sultan of Sokoto in them. The Fulanis are born from the Almoravid Arabs who intermarried with Mandingos and some other African tribes, and they migrated down from the north after they had taken over northern Africa, and they migrated down to West Africa. And of course, their trouble has begun as well. It's all trouble, Islam. They refuse reason, all trouble. They lie, they cheat, they steal, they kill, they destroy. All trouble. Even in Islam, they make the argument, oh, well, there was crusade. Crusade started in 1099. But do you know that as soon as Islam started 1610, by 635 AD, they already jumped in and captured Jerusalem. In the time of the Byzantine Empire, they captured Jerusalem. The Levant, they had taken over the whole place. You know, by 641, that is like 6 years after that, they had jumped into Egypt. They've come into North Africa proper. Now they started advancing from there. By 611 AD, they had already gotten into Spain through northwestern part of Africa. They got into Spain. They captured Spain. They went as far as Tours in France by 725 AD. It's all conquest with the sword. Before the Europeans organized and began to fight them, it eventually drove them out of the Iberian Peninsula, which is Spain and Portugal. You know, but the Almoravids were stationed in Morocco, in that northwestern part. Those Almoravids, from them, by intermarriage of people they conquered, native Africans they conquered, they produced the Fulani. They became pastoralists, wanderers in the savannah, you know, with cattle. And up till today, they're still wandering around with cattle, even though no part of the world we have that type of thing going on, because people ranch. They put their cows in one place, supply food to them, and sell them for business. Fulani says, no, I must do it my way. That's why we said to you, it is simply a pretext to conquest. They bring that cattle there to look for your trouble because they'll not want to conquer you. They are very sneaky. And it is obvious when you look at their records. These people are shameless, I'm telling you. Despite the long list of records of Fulani killing people, people like El Rufai had to come out and still, you know, you look at his face, you say, what is wrong? This devilish behavior comes in different ways. You know, Fulani has voted as 80%, it was said that 80% of the crime in Nigeria has been committed by the Fulani. Not about Boko Haram and so on and so forth. But you see them pretending that, you know, you see them interviewing. Recently, the Nigerian Bar Association wanted to invite him for their some of annual event or something like that. Nigerian Bar Association, these are a bunch of lawyers. Until some of them started deregistering, they said, you know, we're not going to register in this if El Rufai is going to come to this meeting. And then they had to turn him down because of it. You know, what is wrong with our people? What is wrong with our people? How do you think you can create a sane society when you obviously promote evil? You bring even Obasanjo, he's coming there. One brutal ruler from another one who violates human rights, you bring him to speak. You honor them, you set them on stage, and you want a better future, you want a better society. You see these people, if you interview them, they will tell you, oh, we want a better society for Nigeria. You do? You actually do. What is wrong? That education you got as being a lawyer, it is not allowed you to, you don't need to be a lawyer to reason. You don't need to be a lawyer to have conscience. And these are simply evil forces, which you look at and you wonder why. They rejected, what is his name? El Rufai, you know, because of the Southern Kaduna crisis. But we don't know what next is going to happen. So in Kaduna, I want to say that there were, let's go a little bit back in history. Of course, the Fulani came in 1804, and in 2000, actually, that means like 20 years ago, there was adoption of Sharia law. Sharia law was moved from being simply a private or like customary thing to simply being a state law, you know. So they adopted it, the state adopted in Zamfara as a code, criminal code, the Sharia criminal code. The Sharia is directed towards penalties for what Islam considers criminality. And like I always advise, you should Google Sharia law on your phone. Do not be that lazy that you don't Google. You use your phone all the time. Please Google Sharia law and just look at it so you can understand what you're facing. So that we in Radio Biafra International will not be wasting our energy simply talking about something that should have been easy for anybody to know. And when you know that, tell your friend, tell your relative, tell him to Google Sharia law in their phone. They can do it and read it. Because it is this type of mindset which borders on being negligent or naivete that affects us as a people, so that when somebody is saying there's danger there, the other person is relaxed. He doesn't think that there's danger because he doesn't know. He's not acquainted with it. He might think but he said, well, it's not that dangerous. It's not that dangerous. We need you to be on the same footing with actually what is reality. It has happened to us in 1966 because our people, if you look at what happened, there were signs of what was about to happen, but they never took it that serious. Even when they were ready to fight after the pogrom, do you know that our people were making excuses for them? They were making excuses for those who killed them. Oh, well, they won't continue. Oh, well, this one, that. Not until they came to the house and they began to fight. Part of it is that your desire to put that your private business and your ambition and everything above what is even your security. And that insecurity comes in to swallow both you and your ambition and your progress. You can follow your ambition, but pay attention. You can do the two. It is possible. Follow what you're doing. Your daily dose is very good. We support you on that. We pray to God to bless you on what is your ambition once it is right. But please pay attention to the risks that are around you. That is very, very important. And they are political. Those risks are mainly political, not just economic. They are political. Our people have made economic risks as only the risk that you know that is there. No, it is also, in fact, it is more political than economic, because the risks we are suffering economically has been imposed on us through political power. It is the government using policies to asphyxiate our economic system, using political power to strangulate our economy in Biafra land and every other part of the country as we see it right now. That's why it's the poverty capital of the world. That is what the problem is coming. And it's deliberately done because it's a strategy of Islamization. It's a strategy of Islamization. So when they're hungry, they go there, down there, give them money, and they say, come to the mosque. You have them come to the mosque in Ebony. That is why Umahi is a
Radio Biafra International, empowering the people.
Yes, this is not an account. All we want is Biafra people. All we want is Biafra. All we want is freedom. All we want is Biafra. All we want is freedom. Oh Lord, my God. Oh Lord, my God. We need our freedom. We need our peace to reign. We need our freedom. We need some peace to reign. Killing and fighting everywhere. We need some peace to reign. Suffers everywhere. Brothers do not know his brothers. Anymore. Let us keep our heads together as one. Peace to reign. Oh Lord, my God. All we want is Biafra. All we want is freedom.
How long did we lose?
All we want is Biafra.
Lord, and I can't beat.
All we want is freedom.
I am here calling you, oh Lord, praying to you, singing to you, oh Yahushua, because they made us slaves in our own land. I can remember once upon a time in the Bible where the Israelites Christ use songs and praises to tear down the wall of Jericho. This is the kind of miracle we need for our freedom. We know you can answer us as you answer Israelite the days of their slavery in Egypt. They might shoot us, they might kill us. Bloodshed everywhere. Give us Biafra, give us freedom. Oh Lord, Yahweh, I call upon you.
I know. Oh Lord, I know. All we want is Biafra. All we want is freedom. All we want is Biafra. All we want is freedom.
Radio Biafra International, empowering the people.
Hello, once again. This is Radio Biafra International. We had an interlude right there, and I want to continue from where I stopped before I bring in my guests, panelists. Our panelists, basically, they are no longer guests to this program. Our panelists, Ahmed Flukando and Chuksi Kedigwe. I was talking about how Sharia law became something to implement in Nigeria. It used to be private and customary, just as customary law. But then they brought it to the secular, what was supposed to be the secular system in Nigeria, when in 1999, after the election of Obasanjo, by 2000, Zamfara State introduced the Sharia law, Sharia penal code as a general legal code in Zamfara State. Zamfara is in the northwestern part of Nigeria. And since they introduced it, there's been war. That's it. 12 states in the north followed course, and eventually conflict started in places like Southern Kaduna in 2000 because you want to impose the law where Christians are. So part of the problem why Nigeria is simply unworkable is that how do somebody who is a Christian function in an area where he's under a law that is different from his own belief system, a law that is not secular, the Sharia law? How many people can function on that? A law that forces other people, a law that is supreme to their believers, and it should be adopted by everybody around. So you see the problem with Sharia law, that it violates the fundamental human rights of other people. As I say, Islam is against human rights and democracy. Islam is undemocratic. So, and not just Islam, it's intolerant of democracy. You see, yeah, if you can be, it may not be democratic, but you at least allow others who believe in democracy to function. But Islam won't do that. Islam says you must be conquered. So I would like to bring in Mazi Ahmed Flukando to give us some commentary regarding this, the advancement of Islam in the North, and how Christians in the North have suffered so much, even up till today. I mean, there's a massive IDP camp in the North. Camps, not just camps. There's one in Benue, there's one probably in Nazarawa, and so on and so forth. people are displaced from their indigenous homes and lands, and they become part of the uh, refugee. They have to become refugees within their own country, and this is enforced by those who believe that it is their duty to enforce the Islamic ideology. Mazi Ahmed Flukan, if you're there, Ahmed Flukan, is a veteran, one of our wonderful panelists. He will speak to this. Mm.
Hello. Hello.
Mazi Ahmed Flukan, you're there.
Yes,
Thank
you
you.
can
so
hear me,
much.
I guess.
Yes.
Yes, Mazimo, thank you very much for today's program, and we're looking forward to another wonderful, informative day for our people. And for members of the panel, we're also looking forward to a beautiful day. Thank you very much, and for the listening audience, we are also all looking forward to be informed and educated. Mazimo, you have really talked extensively, very informative about the Southern Kaduna situation. You have given the natural history of Sharia, the Muslims. These are key information that our people need for us to understand what we are about to do. That Nigeria is in a state of chaos is because the Fulanis have played on our intelligence. Our forefathers, centuries ago, they have really played on our intelligence. They sowed seed of discord amongst us. Just like you said, they will use the money from the oil area, money from the south, to bribe all the vulnerable and really ignorant so-called leaders of the south and maybe middle belt. We of Radio Biafra International and BRM, we have adopted this as our own project for Biafra, for liberation, for freedom. We are not going to deviate or deter from this or put ourselves in a position of the current struggle that has been going on in Biafra, who is going to be the leader. That is all the problem. You find out that IPOB does, LONC, and all kinds of groups. They're all struggling. Customary government. They're all struggling who is going to be the leader when Biafra comes. But for us, Radio Biafra International and BRM, we have adopted this area, that this is our area of expertise. We are going to work on it, and it's going to remain in perpetuity even after Biafra has been gotten. Because all the things we are experiencing, what our fathers experienced, what we are currently experiencing, and what our children will experience will be based on the fact that they were completely misinformed. And who, put it that way, the Fulanese, with the British being at arm's length, and all the other Western powers that have agreed to suppress the people of Biafra. It is very, very critical that our people understand this. When you understand this, I will not see any reason for us to be struggling who is going to be the leader. The leader will automatically come. And that's why we are calling on. In fact, I got a message to which I replied this morning from one of the forums that I belong. They were asking me some questions, and I replied to it. Okay, they were trying to find out, the effect of Nnamdi Kanu and Emmanuel Emma Powerful. I told them, well, that until they start learning that they cannot fight for Biafra alone, that we're just going to be spinning around. So for those of you who are very familiar with these two guys, talk to them. Let us all come together and fight for a united Biafra. Because when Biafra comes, all the mess, the stupidity that is going on today in terms of governance, we are not going to allow it happen. May God give us long life, because we are constantly going to challenge these things. For me, I have staked my life as to that. We must have good governance. We're not going to allow this type of thing today, because it has so messed up everybody. Every family, there is no family in Biafra land that has not been affected with the injustice that is constantly going on in Nigeria. So these are areas we're going to work on. And I plead to every one of us, choose an area. If you want to be part of the informative group, come and join Radio Biafra International. If you want to join Radio Biafra London, go and join them. You want to join Radio Biafra International, join. If you want to join BVI and so, you have to play a part, because Biafra belongs to each and every one of us. It is no one person's business. Just like Nnamdi Kanu says, he is the supreme commander. We told him, no, it's not going to happen. Let everybody know that. We respect him for what he has done. He has brought the awareness to the point that he has brought it. Even though it was brought in the way to suit him and so on, but that's okay. That is his own part. Everybody has to play a part. And to play this part is for us to defeat the Fulanis. The problem of Nigeria today is the Fulanis. So let the people of Biafra, whether you want to belong to it or not, just remember that we have to all work together. The whole of the South and Middle Belt should learn by now to work together and agree that their problem is the Fulani. I don't want to go to define the Fulani because Mazimo Alo has very well defined them, their origin and how they came into Nigeria. All right? So everything they are doing hinges on their Islamization agenda to rule the world. So these are things I want us to understand, my brethren. Everything Mazimo has been saying, he is a man full of intelligence. He is a catalog of information that is helping us to be guided. And I'm telling you, with what he has done and what Mazda and Emena, the two of them have been doing, championing the broadcast, I love them so much. Let us go on with them. With what we have done so far, that tells us exactly our vision for BRM, vision for RBI. So I will stop so far. I'm just in total agreement with what Mazi Moralo has said so far. Thank you and God bless you, members of the panel. Let's get ready for a beautiful day. Bye.
Thank you so much, Mazi Mefulu Kando, our own veteran, wonderful brother. I hope we heed his advice. There's a need for unity, Mr. People, because when there is not that unity, when we have Biafra, you have that cantankerous inside. When we have enemies, our enemies are in millions, by the way. People have to understand what's going on here. You know, if we say that our enemies are 40 million, that would be a conservative estimate. So I don't think it's one person that will go out there to, you need everybody. We need everybody to be involved. Um, uh, like he said, when Biafra comes, we'll set up democratic processes and people will, they will elect their leaders. We'll have to have leaders, of course, and then we move on. We have also different political ideas on certain issues, which we suggest. I think part of the problem we have suffered in our amidst us is we have that we are inculcated in us is the idea of independence, individual independence, which is good, but we take it to sometimes harmful competitive state. When we take it to a harmful competitive state, it harms our collective interest. In other words, if you and I are contesting over something, the enemy might eventually take over. You and I, rather than, okay, go ahead, you move ahead, no problem. We'll follow. Yeah, but let there be no fighting, because we know that the greater objective is to achieve that. And with that, these issues of part of the reason why our people fight over leadership is because of these problems. They over um, you exalt positions of political power too much. You worship it. That's why you're fighting. Even when you don't have Biafra, you're fighting about, because personality and aggrandizement. That is the problem. That is the problem. And this thing is affecting our culture so badly. That's why we say here, look, stop respecting people simply because they have position of power, they have title, or they have money. And so, because those value systems will destroy us as a people. Rather respect a man because he's righteous, he's upright. He helps the poor, he helps the needy. He cares about the sick. He cares about those who don't have much. He has good ideas as he pushes forward. These are people. He's humble. That is how it becomes a different value system. Man who is virtuous, or a woman who is virtuous, that is whom you respect. That is what our book, which is the Bible, teaches us to do. Not to respect people because they're proud. Remember, the Bible says that God, the Lord, the God of Israel, rejects the proud. So we don't want to be rejected. Once we start getting proud over this and that, we become, it is bad. And it is what we grew up in. We grew up in people, we talk about Nkali, the word Nkali, when we're young, which is, I'm greater than you. And then we take that thing outside too, because it affects how we relate with other people. Because it's something that's already embedded in our own culture, our thought process, our cultural philosophy, Nkali, and respect me because of that. And then when you take that outside, you create a lot of problems. Because those people are not understanding it. It's not that the Igbo man is not kind, he's kind. But he's just saying, a karam, that is the point. Which means you're not, that is God-given right, is what he's claiming. That look, I don't care but I am who I am. I am my own man. That's okay. But we shouldn't use that. We shouldn't apply it wrongly in such a way it becomes a problem to us as a people. And let us not be struggling over things like that. Let us change our value system, because we have different set of values towards that. And Kali, we're on a boast now, a karam in being kind, a karam in being humble, a karam in being in being in giving, in being generous, a karam in being loving, a karam in being patient, a karam in long suffering. No, that has not, because that's not the value. We either will put it like money or strength or something, something that you use to put some other person down. You see, that's where the problem is coming from. Something you feel that you use to put the other person down. So, and this is what is going on in the struggle generally. Of I am the one who did this. I am the one that did that, not you. You see that manifest. As we do this. That is typical of my people. They are not the bad people. And for those who don't know the Igbo people, you have the privilege of listening to what I'm saying now. If that will help you understand a thing or two about our people. They're not the bad people. They're very kind. That same person, if something is hurting you, if something you're in trouble, he'll be worried. He will be like, okay, what do we do? How do we do it to help? We're a very kind people, but we need to change and reform our thoughts on certain things to also for us to progress as a people. It is very, very important. And this is part of the reason why we have advocated, because actually we didn't used to adopt that type of thing. You talk about political positions where somebody is. Remember that in Igbo society, we had like village council at supreme council, sort of. We don't want to use word supreme, because that's a word that we attribute to God. But we have village councils, and they don't exert power unconscionably or no. No, they don't. You deliberate things and people are involved. Everybody's involved. So whatever decision they are taking is like the people deciding. First of all, you discuss an issue. How do we take it? And then, we have to adopt that type of thought in setting up Biafra as a structure. And this is simply an advice that I'm giving. When you adopt that type of thought, all these names and titles, let it be a problem, throw it away. Throw it away, because at the end of the day, it would disturb everybody, including you. That's why now we have traditional rulers, which were foisted on us by colonial forces. The traditional rulers forces. We don't have to use traditional rulers. These were the legacy of the warrant chiefs, by foreigners who oppressed us. Who still oppress us. They are the ones who set up those institutions, those political institutions. And rather than us now reject it, we go and adopt it, because those who have been there already have entrenched interests that they are defending. So they have groups that I'm Igwe of this, I'm Igwe of that. I went and met the governor, bring the press people. He's fighting amongst with the other Igwes. That is what is going on. You see in there. They are telling the other Igwe that I am stronger, I am better, I am this. Nkari, the Igbo nekwekwana ka ife agbuo unu. Ofe a ga-egbu unu, gbutosia unu completely. Because it's not of God. This type of thought process is not of God. You see, at the end of the day, even if you're the president, nobody's respecting you. Because how can one carry to you? Even if you're the president of Biafra. Or Kasia, he will retire to go say get away. That they don't wait for GM. So president think I'm with her because of Biafra, Iji Wuru and so on and so forth and so on. You see, that same spirit. We begin to go opposition, we'll begin to talk rubbish, and in their rejection of you, they will create all kinds of things. God bless you if you make a mistake. If you make one mistake alone, they will take it and finish you up. So we need to use a different approach to it. Part of Igbo process is that if Ojukwu said something, he said, look, that Igbo will send you, what they did was they sent him on a duty. You see, that's how he put it. He doesn't call himself, they call him, they say, oh, he's an leader of the Igbos. He corrected the person, said, for goodness sake. He said you might say he's an Igbo leader. This is one of the leaders. Don't call him leader of the Igbo. Igbos don't have a leader, in the sense that the Igbos lead themselves. In the sense also that God leads them. You see what I'm saying? And this is where that tradition comes is from Israel. Israel had kings, definitely. But if you look at what happened to them after having kings, when they came to the prophet Samuel and said, we need a king, Samuel was sad and said, why? He told them, look, they told Samuel, the elders of Israel, told Samuel, the prophet, that your sons cannot lead us, that they don't have good character, this, that, which was true. So they told Samuel, we need a king to lead us so that we can come out like other nations. Go and read, I think it's first Samuel 8. Yeah. Or 2 Samuel 8. Yeah. Check 2 Samuel 8, I believe. If you read it and if you Google it, you'll see it, how the argument went there, and study it. Sometimes you need to study this last, They wanted to say, they said, we want to be like other people. Can you imagine? They said, we want to be like other. And this is the same thing that's happening to us, Igbo people. We want to be like, oh, don't you see how the Yoruba does it? Don't you see how the Hausa does it? Don't you see how the Fulani? Are you those people? You are not Fulani. You're not Hausa. You are not all these people you're mentioned. Why do you want to be like? And Samuel went to God and prayed to God. God told Samuel and said, look, because Samuel, sort of accused them of rejecting God. So you have rejected God from this, because Israel used to be a theocracy. God told them and said, it is not you that they are rejecting, Samuel, it is I. That thing is very, very significant. It's very, very significant. We understand that. You see, it's not you that reject, he's the prophet. But because God created Israel to be a nation of priests, it was supposed to be a nation of people to glorify him, basically, yes. So that is how we are as Igbo people. We're supposed to be a nation of priests, people to glorify his name. The things we do glorify God, not us. Because when we seek individual glory, or even collective glory as a people, we lose it. We lose it. Because every gift you have in you was given to you by God. So the glory goes to him. You cannot be glorifying yourself when you didn't provide that thing for which you're glorying in. It is the provider that takes the glory, not you. You didn't create yourself in the first place, so why take glory about yourself? Sometimes people come and they like want to what do I call it? They become sycophants, or they flatter you. They say certain things, Yeah, don't tell them, thank God, it is God that does that. Don't take that glory for yourself. God says, I will not share my glory with anyone. Google that. Just Google this phrase. I will not share my glory with anyone. If you just Google, that's why I love Google. Boom, it will show you the verse. It is in the Bible immediately, and then you read it. So that's how we know the nature of God, the mind of God, at least the extent that we need to. You see. So if we don't adopt, we say we want Biafra to worship God. If we don't worship God in Biafra, I'm telling you, He will destroy it though. The Fulani will take over in a very fantastic way. Why do you think what's happening to us is happening to us? It's happening to us because of idolatry. And idolatry is worshiping individual people, worshiping yourself. Yeah, you can worship yourself. I'm this, I'm that. You're worshiping yourself. You can worship where you come from, your town. Oh, my town is this, my town is that. It's worship. It's idolatry. You can't even praise God that way. No, you don't brag about God. That it is only when it is your money, you're this, you're that, this one. This person is rich, is educated, is that, is strong. Just you keep praising people and yourself. That's called idolatry. If we adopt that type of mentality and culture, it will destroy us. Our enemies, obviously, are different from us. But God wants us to pay attention to Him. When we do so, He is the one that will get us Biafra. I'm telling you, none of us can do that. We cannot. We cannot do it on our own. If we try to do it on our own, you see what happened in the past 67 to 70? Yes. When people sing songs and they say, Ojukwu is this and that, stop singing that type of song, please. Because Ojukwu didn't die in war front, and he told you people that. He said, look, you call me hero and this, that when you do this, I laugh. I said to you, look, you are the one that took the guns and went off. Even though he did certain things extraordinary for a leader in those days. He fought in Uguta, he took the gun, went there in war front and began to shoot. That is a mark of a good leader. We know that. But it doesn't make him to be, Ojukwu is this and that. You have respect and love for that person. We understand that. But stop building personality cults. Because that personality cult would, before you know it, people begin to trust you, the person, individual, as a person who's not God. So just trust God for our salvation. Let's look up to God, the God of Israel. Because when we ignore Him and then depend on our strength and our knowledge and say, okay, we are this and that, afterwards, you are nothing. I'm telling you. Why are we out today? Why is it that our enemies have dealt with us today? Where is all that thing you're talking about? Why hasn't this saved us? We're out in the cold. So it's enough of these things. Do what you're doing. We will commend you for what you have done as an individual. But we will ultimately exalt the name of God. And then we thank God for your life. So let's go back to what we're saying regarding Sharia in Northern Kaduna. When it started, I'm talking about the Middle Belt right now, because Sharia was instituted in 2000 in Kaduna, and Sharia was introduced as a criminal code, and this is above the state law, because the state law has the penal code. So why should Sharia law, exact punishment when the provision there's a provision in the penal code for punishment for those crimes? Why should you have Sharia law there? That is the question we need to ask. Why should Sharia law supplant common law, which the Nigerian constitution is all about? And remember, the constitution they have now is a forgery, so it's an evidence of crime by Abdul Salami Abubakar and his cohorts. These are criminal behavior. They should be prosecuted, arrested, and that's what they are fit for. Most of these Nigerian leaders. So you cannot enforce Sharia on people who are not Muslims. And they say, oh, you know, the Muslims say, oh, we're not enforcing it on people. And then come and say, how can you practice separate laws in the same society? It's not possible for it to work. So that's why they destroy alcohol. They take VAT, value added tax from alcohol when it's imported. You know, the government will share it and they will take their own, but they're against alcohol. And there is something they don't understand about secular society. Secular society simply means that, look, I'm not God. I can't judge you on everything. So you are free to do what you want, but you have the consequences, you bear it. That's what the secular society is all about. You know, they say, oh, we're drinking alcohol into, you know, you have Muslims. Sorry. You have Muslims who make those accusations sometimes. You know, just a moment. You have Muslims who make that accusation sometimes that we have we approve of alcohol, drinking alcohol. Islam is against it. Okay, fine. It's not that we don't know that alcohol is an inebriating substance. Yes, when it is abused, alcohol is even in drug. You see, when you go to substances which you do use to alcohol, is in America here. There was a time they adopted it. In the 1920s, there was bootleg, what is called bootlegging. People were importing alcohol. The law was against it because of what it was doing to people. So it was a banned substance actually in the 1920s. So eventually they unbanned it because they saw that to implement the law would harm the society more than the alcohol itself. You know, certain things you explain it to people. You don't have to force it on people. I'm talking to those who are Muslims now, you know, and okay, those who are Christians as well, those who are listening. So now, in the Christianity does not support you getting inebriated, drinking alcohol. Like I said, those substances which are in alcohol, and it's also in other things, they can be in plants. They can, but the point is not that something is bad or good as much as it is how you use it. You see. Now, we use knife to cut meat when we want to cut meat. That's good. The knife, you can use your finger to cut it or any other thing. But if you use that knife long, use it to stab somebody, you don't blame the knife. You see what I'm saying? You blame somebody. A vehicle transports you and transports goods from one point to the other. That's very good. But if you use that car to hit somebody, then you have abused that car. You see the point? You used it wrongly. That's what abuse is. So you have to take punishment for it. That is the point. So it's not people drink alcohol. And if you go to Christian societies, you say, oh, drink like how many drinks alcohol there? 0.1% are the people who drink alcohol. Most people don't drink alcohol. Trust me. You talk about prostitution. Oh, prostitution is you know, how many people prostitute in these societies, Christian society? You compare it to the society. The ones who are not are condemning the people who are prostitute. So this Islamic propaganda of, oh, these people, and is this prostitution societies, is that where you go to live and enjoy human rights and turn around and prepare for jihad? Why do you go there in the first place? So this prostitution is bad. We know that. The Bible condemns prostitution. Something is wrong. It's a terrible sin. But there are things you can't force on people simply because you believe. You could just tell them, look, it is only when, if you want to abuse yourself and do certain things, you know, okay, you have the right to do that, but it should not violate somebody else's right. That is the point. Yeah. That is why you have a secular society. And Christianity allows for that. Why? Because, you know, Christ does not knock you upside the head to become a Christian. The Bible doesn't say that God will just, you know, knock you upside. No, but you bear the consequence for what you do. Because our God punishes. Incidentally, for Allah, he has to give the punishment to the hands of his followers. That makes me wonder. So all these vices they use as excuses. It's terrible. Why is it even in Islam, you know, today we are seeing there was somebody that was sentenced to death because he sang a song in Kanu. And they said the song was very critical of Islam one way or the other. And they sentenced him to death. But Ganduje, who is the governor, was caught on tape taking money and stuffing money, public money, into his Babanriga. That's not enough. You don't cut off his hand. You're very hypocritical. The people who have stolen oil money, Biafran oil money, in billions, in the 400 billion, according to Ribadu, who was former EFCC chairman under Obasanjo. $400 billion stolen. I tell you, 90% or even up, at least, let me be conservative. 80% of it was by Northerners. Terrible public criminals that the North has produced, and Northern Muslims. What have you done to them? Nothing. You're holding Olisameto in prison. But the man who gave him the money, the former NSA chairman, because he's from the North, he's going to be free. Go and check the list of people. The oil blocks, 83% of oil blocks, which are in Biafra land, are owned by Northerners. Where does that money come from? Money of Nigeria. Is it not from oil blocks? So we can comfortably say that 83% of the corruption is done by the mainly Northern Muslims. So let us be very frank to ourselves. And that is why I say that your religion is so hypocritical beyond imagination. We haven't seen anything like that in the history of humanity. You need to think. You need to begin to question things. Anybody that tells you can't question anything, look, that thing is wrong already. Move out from there for your own life. I'm telling you. Why shouldn't we question things? We are born not knowing anything. We are born as children. The Christianity, which I believe I had to question, I'm still questioning it up till now. That is your freedom as a human being. It's inalienable right for you to question belief. So Sharia law was implemented, and there was violence in 2000. And in 2002, there was first of all violence in Kaduna. It occurred in 1987, 1992, and 2000. Most of them also, there was one that was very remarkable in 1992 between the it's called the Zangon Kataf crisis. That was in 1992. The Zangon Kataf crisis was were clashes in Zangon Kataf between the Hausa and the Kataf. When we're talking about Hausa, they're talking about Hausa Fulani as well. Because the Fulani, of course, took over the Hausa. The Hausa became a slave. We got the Islamized Hausa. Hausa will follow them wherever they go. They got so indoctrinated by them. And they don't question too. That's why I say, if you cannot question what you're doing, then there is a problem there. We are human beings, we should question because we don't know. So we want to be clear. That's why we're questioning. There's nothing wrong with that, with making inquiries and questioning something. So holding an opinion, there's nothing wrong with that. So anybody who comes with a threat, know that that is the first sign that he's wrong. Because if he was right, he will quietly present his case, which will be convincing. But because his case is not convincing, he wants to use violence and fear and intimidation to hold people down. And this is why we are against Islam, for how it has treated millions of people, including people practically held, even most against their will, with fear, intimidation and fear in the practice of that religion. There are other religions that do that as well, but not as much as Islam in terms of intensity. Yes, we haven't heard that in Buddhists, those who quit Buddhism are killed. Hindus, that when they quit, they are killed. You hardly hear anything like that. If you do, it's an exception, not the rule. In Islam, is the rule. So, Zangon Kataf, when this crisis came up in 1992, the Kataf people fought to defend the Christians. Because remember, there was the implementation and imposition of the Sharia law in Kaduna. And there was a man known as Zamani Lekwot. Zamani Lekwot stood up and fought with his people. And after that, they defeated the Muslims. The Muslims are able to uproot them from there. These are people they allowed because they're in their land too. You know that? Yeah. And they were not able to uproot them from there. And since then, they've been mad at this. The Muslims, because they are ones, to them, they are the ones who are supposed to defeat you in the war. Because this is the war of Islam, which Muhammad started in 635 AD, and he conquered the whole of North Africa, and he went east and conquered Khorasan, that is today's Iran, and went to Transoxania and conquered Transoxania around Azerbaijan, and then He went even to Indonesia. They went by boat, and Malaysia, and conquered the place. So they should conquer Nigeria too. We have to understand that that's the mindset of the typical Muslim. So when they're talking about conquering you, they're not thinking twice about it. The question is, when do we conquer you? Today, in the Guardian of August 2020, 14th August 2020, the Sharia Council wants Lekwot orders executed over 1992 crisis. So you see, this crisis is one Zamani Lekwot, who is a Christian Northerner, to be executed. The Supreme Council of Sharia in Nigeria, SCSN, has said that government's failure to execute General Zamani Lekwot in the late Major James Kude and others sentenced to death for the 1992 Zangon Qatar crisis, responsible for a recurring crisis in southern Kaduna. You can imagine that. These are people imposing Sharia on other people, but they're saying that it is Zango. So for this guy rising up, those of them rising up and resisting that imposition, that's a problem. He therefore called on the government to revisit this sentence. Briefing newsman yesterday, the Secretary for the Supreme Council of for Sharia in Nigeria, Abdul Rahman Hassan, stated that those sentenced to death were pardoned by the military administration of General Sani Abacha should be executed in the current dispensation to allow peace to reign in the country. You see, for them, peace means Islam running you over. Simple. And I've told you before about the concept of Daral Islam. Daral Islam means the land of peace. So peace means where Islam is. Outside that territory where Islam is, the other area is called Daral Ab, the place, the land of war. That is where they carry war over. So this is a religion that's intolerant, very intolerant. You cannot tolerate other people. It enforces and imposes itself on others. So that's why they say, let's peace reign on the country. We want those pardoned in 1992 during the Zangon Qatar crisis to be executed now, because that is the only way peace will return to the area, Hassan said. You see, he wants them to be executed. Babangida had set up a tribunal headed by the late Justice Pius Okadibu to try Lekwot, Kude, and other Kataf indigents on allegation of culpable homicide in the bloody crisis in 1992. These are the only people they will try. You see, in 1992, that was when 1987, 1992, you had that Kataf fought and defeated them practically, and they're having a problem. It gave them a bloody nose, sort of. They have a problem with it, so they are calling for the execution of these people, you know. And and you wonder, Fulani has been killing people all across the country. Do you see any Muslim calling for the execution of Fulani? They are releasing Boko Haram terrorists. They are releasing them, claiming that they are rehabilitated. Can you imagine? But they will go and shoot IPOB member. They will go and shoot MASOB member. Young Biafrans who are demonstrating peacefully, acting within the ambit of the law, to express their discontent with the government of the day, which is oppressing their people, they shoot them dead. Can you imagine that? This is unimaginable. And that is why we say it is important that we hold the names of all those who are responsible for this, because justice must be done and seem to be done. They should not escape justice. I'm telling you, for the sake of those innocent people, you are releasing terrorists, but you're killing people who are unarmed, who are peaceful demonstrators. This is Nigeria of your two sides of your Nigeria. That is why people have rejected Nigeria and said, stop using that word on me. Nigeria. Who gave you the name Nigeria? A foreigner gave you, and you took it and ran with it. We have to be very conscious about names. I said that before. When slaves came to the West from Africa, the first thing they do is to change the person's name. Because when they change your name, you lose connection immediately. You begin to do things to please the persons whom they gave you the name. And that's why when you say, oh, I'm Nigerian, he start defending, I'm Nigerian. We are Nigerians now. I will carry the passport. You see, he keep him, defended. But that name has been forced on you, and you have been made to just grab it and hold it psychologically. What prevents you from saying I'm Biafran? Because you are afraid that the Nigerian government will come for you, isn't it? Now they've instilled fear in you. That fear, as long as it lives in you, you're a slave to that fear, no matter how you pretend around it. Let's understand the psychology behind it. So I say I'm Biafran. Well, what is wrong is somebody saying this is my name. I'm a Biafran. What is wrong in that? Is somebody else supposed to give you a name? No. You name yourself. Either your parents name you or you name yourself. Give yourself that this is my name. Your name should be indigenous. It should be of you. Nobody should force another name on you. No, because this is where the problems come. The psychological abuse, giving you his name. You know, we don't name other people. Why should they come and name us? You know. So Okadibo sentenced Lekwot, continuing with this Kataf crisis. Okadibo sentenced Lekwot, Kude, Johanna, Kibori, Marcos, Maman, Yahaya, Dunia, and Julius Dabo to death by hanging over complicity in the crisis. But Lekwot and others were later granted state pardon by Abacha on his assumption of office. You see, they used Okadibo to do that. You know, the council argued till now, Zonkwa is still a ghost town. Surprisingly, the Christian Association of Nigeria, Southern Kaduna People's Union, SOKAPU, and their allies had never cried foul in the massacre of innocent law-abiding citizens on the account of their faith. You see, that is the point. When you kill the Muslims, they will say it's a massacre of innocent law-abiding citizens. You know, but when they will kill you, it is all right. And they have been doing the killing. The records are there. The records, they are the problem of this world. Islam is the problem. We have to call that by its name. Call it out by its name. Many more ethno-religious crises continue to occur in Kasuwan, Magani, Kajuru, Zangon, Qatar, and some other places. After every crisis, a commission of inquiry will be formed, report will be submitted to the government of the day to no avail. Meanwhile, the Islamic movement in Nigeria has said that the judgment by the Kaduna State High Court, which discharged 12 of its members, vindicated the Islamic sect. While IMN, while commending the judgment, upholding a no-case submission on the criminal case filed against the Shiites, said Kaduna State government has again failed in court after a fair trial. The spokesman Ibrahim Musa said on Friday, July 24, 2020, Kaduna State High Court, presided over by Honorable Justice Mairo Mohammed, again delivered a favorable judgment in the no-case submission filed by the defense lawyers on the suit against 12 members of IMN, who allegedly committed offenses of criminal conspiracy, unlawful assembly, and being members of unlawful society. According to him, the judgment has not only vindicated the members of IMN, but it is certainly a victory for perseverance in the face of extreme persecution. It's a victory for truth and justice against tyranny and impunity. So this IMN, Islamic movement in Nigeria, I think most of them are Shiites, and the Shiites are fighting the Sunni. Nigeria is mainly Sunni. Shiite is a sect, but we see them killing. Their leader is El Zakzaki. You know, they're killing the Shiites because they want to suppress that sect. That's part of the effect of Islamic legal system. You know, not people don't have the freedom of speech. Now, it's very important to know that we all know that Obadiah Mailafia, a few days ago, Obadiah Mailafia is from the Christian Southern Kaduna, and he was former deputy governor of the central bank. He spoke against what was going on, and he said that the governor was behind, the state governor was behind the establishment of Boko Haram. I think his name is Sharif, former governor, Sharif, that Omar Sharif or something like that. He was behind the establishment of Boko Haram, and he finances them. What are they financing these people with? Oil money from Biafran land. That's why they're financing these terrorist groups to kill us and kill the Christians. And so I want us to understand, particularly people in the Middle Belt, also understand what is going on. You have to understand that, because this is a religious war, after all said and done. That's what it's all about. Make your choices. Part of the reason why some of you have not been able to make better choices is because of your stand against Biafra in 1967. Not that if you didn't stand for the truth, you stood for the lie, which means you were used by Muslims to fight other Christians. That's what they do. They cut you into two, use one group, kill the other group, then they kill that group that work with them. It's easier for them to do it that way. That's what they do. So when they come, that's what divide and conquer means. You divide them, took one part, tell them that other guy, they help you quench the other group. Then that group, the other group that helped them quench it, they will finish you up eventually. They did it to Afonja. It's a strategy. You know, in Yoruba land. That's why they have the emirate in Kwara State now. You know, use that Afonja against these people, then kill Afonja and his family eventually. So we have to be very, very careful when we say it. So now Obadiah Mailafia said openly, and we knew that it is it is in the news. You can easily Google Obadiah. Obadiah is in the Bible, Obadiah, Mailafia, Mailafia. Obadiah Mailafia. You Google him, you're going to see the information on the statements he made that Boko Haram was sponsored by a state governor from the north. That has been known anyway. He's not saying anything anybody doesn't know. And, and for it, the DSS invited him, and today, security agencies kept inviting him. And you can imagine the disgrace that these people have are shameless. The killings that are going all over the place, DSS doesn't solve it. All the security agencies, because they are working hand in hand with them. It's a Fulani government now. The Fulani has hijacked the government. And then you have the guts to invite a man for saying what is obvious, what people know, that is in the open. The records are there. How do you release terrorists? Where do you do that? Buhari, we said, was a terrorist. The late Buhari, this one, they have a fake one. They're all the same thing, working for the same purposes. So that's why you haven't seen this one anyway. So because Buhari was he was a patron of Mieti Allah. Mieti Allah was designated internationally as a terrorist index as one of the terrorist organizations of the world. That is this so-called Fulani herdsman, and he is their patron. So that means he's a terrorist automatically. So we know we have terrorists all the way. The army chief is a bloody terrorist. Buratai. Buratai is nothing short of a bloody terrorist as you look at him. So because they are the ones who are financing, they defund the army, they do this, they will send them into sort of trap, where they are trapped and killed and so on. Because they are Christian, there are all kinds of terrible things these people are doing. And that is the Fulani for you and their Islamic brothers. Is always scheming to perpetrate one evil or the other. Always evil. Because that's what the devil does in people. He's evil. So what do you expect? And we're telling Christians, particularly those in the Middle Belt, it is time you begin to think. Form your alliances. Speak to the Igbos. Speak to those in the South, Christians. If the Yorubas don't want, it's up to them. But form your alliances. Because Yorubas have a significant number of Muslims who are confusing the rest. So form your alliances and be ready to defend yourself at all costs. That is the important thing, because this is going to end up as a religious war, period. We don't see it coming any other way. Religious war. The only way is if Islam changes or you change to Islam. So you better choose one. Which one will happen? Either we convert to Islam, the Christians, or you defeat them in battle, because they're not going to convert. They're not going to change. That's the point. But why is it even why is it a possibility that Christians will change? No, they will not. Why should you force somebody to convert into your religion? The Christians are not forcing. They are not imposing Christian law here, and just like Sharia, putting Christian law. No, you don't see anybody doing that. But that's what they're doing. So you can tell where they're coming from. Before I call Mazi Chuksikedi to speak, I want to add one or two things here. There is what is called stealth jihad, which comes from different policies that they make in governance, but there's conventional jihad, which is Boko Haram and Fulani terrorists keep killing. The state jihad is like provision of state police. You don't want state police. Why? Because people will protect themselves. When terrorists are arrested, they are so-called rehabilitated and sent back into society. They are never prosecuted. It's stealth jihad. So we know Buhari's Islam jihadist statements are there. So they enable the conventional jihad to take place. So this former Borno State governor, Boko Haram, why? It has been found at a time that there was a telephone of a terrorist contained numbers of government and top officials, and top officials in the army in his cell phone. It is known. That is why we know that they are in the army. Then basically, and more of them are coming in anyway. They refused. They formed a committee of military committee. They refused the commission of inquiry when this was found. Then they declared the military blameless, where they find nobody guilty. Arms owned by Christians were confiscated, but Boko Haram and Fulani terrorists retained theirs. They retained their AK-47s and so on and bombs and keep moving around. So that shows you that there is the tilt. And what do you think that will entail? So this violence is driven by Islamic ideology and nothing else, which is diametrically opposed to democracy and to Christianity. So let us stop distractive excuses given for violence. Sometimes we say, oh, it's because of poverty, because of illiteracy and climate. This is what you see BBC. Distractive argument. Just trying to distract you. Say, oh, they are poor. That's why they're fighting. Who told you it's poverty? There are poor people other places. They are not fighting with bomb and killing people everywhere. And the poverty, they get more money from this oil money and they squander it into violence and so on. So that's what they do. They don't put that money in development. Jonathan built 250 schools for Amajiri people. Who is in that school now? Nobody. But they are there, showing you that they don't want that education for them. They want them to use them in jihad. It's all about jihad, jihad, jihad. That's all the Muslims think about. And that is why their societies are so backward. That is why their societies are not progressive. That's why people are not free in their society. Just any religion that can reduce a human being to this way of thinking, that religion is not something to recommend to anybody, honestly. Why reduce a human being to this psychologically? Mess him up so much that he's always thinking on how to kill the other person next to him. Even when those people help them and do all kinds of good to them, they use it as a leeway to come to kill them. That thing has nothing to do with God. I'm telling you. Mazi Chuks Ikediwe, if you're there, I would like you to speak in on some of these issues that we have raised. Mazi Chuks Ikediwe.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mazodi. Thank you all our listeners. Let me start from the Southern Kaduna issue. Okay, though I must admit that the Southern Kaduna issue has been there lingering for so long. Like you mentioned, what happened in 1992. But the issue we are trying to bring out is that this present governor, El-Rufai, has actually contributed much to it. He has actually spoken, giving it ginger, as in he has by his actions and inactions encouraged these killings. He started by telling us that he paid the Fulanis to stop killing, and we say he's not done anywhere in the world. You don't pay people to stop killing. What you actually do is, if you know people who are committing murderous acts, what you do is to arrest them, have them prosecuted. But this man is the man that told the world that he paid to stop killing. And we know the Fulanis, when you give them money for any that kind of act, you just enable them to buy more arms and ammunition to start killing. And who are they killing? It's always the Christians, always the indigenous Christians from that aspect of the world. That's who they are killing, and they keep killing them. And the government, just like I keep saying, and the government keeps saying it's a revenge mission, it's a revenge killing, it's a reprisal attack. What are they revenging? Who has the murder that they are revenging about? And that's what I'm telling the Christian in every aspect, both Biafra, all others. They must all rise up. Cut your progress.
Room 12. I know what cut.
Sorry, I had a call that also disturbed my call. So that's exactly what we're saying. They keep killing people for no reason, and the government does nothing. We mustn't forget that the essence why government exists is actually to protect lives and property. But we've seen a situation where to protect life and property have become another thing to them. It has been relegated to another aspect of life. This APC government has made sure that their government has actually inflicted injuries on the people. They've allowed people to be killed, and they face the other way, tell stories why they can't protect life, which is the primary responsibility of the people. So our people must understand this. That it's going to get worse, except we defend ourselves. And we must learn to start this right now. And that's why I'm actually happy that you're actually advising our people to get themselves prepared in self-defense by having a very good vigilantes and other state and local policing active so that they can protect themselves. If not, the killing will continue. Don't forget that after killing in the Southern Kaduna and other maybe bed areas, they will move down here. and it's already been activated. So people must wash up, must do what is right to protect our life, especially the men, because the role of the men to protect the women and kids. So we must do that, must be alive to that, and we must do it because this government can never protect. They've never protected anybody. They've never. If what they would do is to hold their hands and say, "Oh, it's reprisal killing or whatever." So we must do those things. And then when we talk about the virus test, okay, we've discovered that with most of us are I mean when we're talking about the coronavirus test for the vaccine, we must understand that we've not really known the intentions of this government as it concerns because they are running with it, and we've known that immediately coronavirus entered Nigeria, it became a business. So we must actually understand what the government intends to do with that, because the way it's looking at it, their intention has not been known. Even the local remedies that people came out with, they've not even tested it. But now they're rushing to the foreign one because they know it will come with money, to come with what have you. And we shouldn't always lose sight of what Pfizer did last time that they came to test that drug. They actually murdered a lot of citizens, unfortunately, from the same Kaduna state. So, because that's where they tested it there. So, we must be very proactive to watch what they are testing on our people here. Their intentions is what we must actually look at because they've used the real intentions of coronavirus as in they've abused the real intention, which is actually to tell the people to actually making money. In fact, during the coronavirus, we were made to know that they were feeding school children. That should tell you the way they went to eating money with it. They told us they were feeding school children who were at home. And as last time we checked, almost $1 billion was spent on that thing. They keep changing the figure, but we know almost $1 billion was spent on feeding children that were at home. So we've seen it that it has been a massive avenue for them to make money. Okay, so and that's why it's very listening of us to make sure that we understand what their real intention is. In fact, I advise all Biafra not to partake in that until we actually not able to partake in that trial at all because their intentions are not known. They will make money. This is a country that the government makes money on the life of their citizens, but they don't really care about you. They've never cared about us. They've never cared about the citizens. All they care is about themselves and themselves and themselves alone. So we must understand this. And then talking about um the cancellation of the invitation given to Aerofy by NBA. I must applaud that decision. One thing Aerofy must know is to come over to pontificate on the lives of the citizen that he has failed to protect. Because if he goes there, all he has to do is try to pontificate on what he has done, what he has done. Well, we all know what he has actually done. What he has actually done is to send it as a text message, as a tweet, that whoever kills a Fulani takes a loan, whether the person is a soldier or any other person that's putting it on record that the person takes a loan that must be paid, no matter how long he has taken. And this is a paid time. Since he entered, he has actually made sure that those his threats has actually been carried out, and then most people pretend as if nothing is happening. So I actually applaud NBA. No matter what, I have seen some people disagree with that move by NBA, but I applaud it because I actually sent a message, not just to Air Refine or not just to few governor, but he has sent message to every politician that a day will come where the people will rise up and say you cannot be pontificating on the people you refuse to protect. And we must also not forget the fact that Aerofy was very, very it was very, very dragging on abiding by court rules. Each time court rules did not favor him, he would just turn the other side of it. He would not even obey it. The man who couldn't even obey the rule of law shouldn't come to propagate us or tell the people about what doesn't hold, what doesn't have any effect in reality. So people must understand. I like the fact that that message from MB has sent a very strong message all over. You must obey the rule of law. You must stand by what the court says and what have you, not just after disobeying court rules, and then you end up coming to tell us stories that we've been hearing all over. So I applaud those moves, and applaud Biafrans for standing up. And then you're talking about this mentality of cult worship or personality issues, or what are called curates worshiping in the Biafran struggle. That mentality has actually done more harm, okay, to this struggle than any other thing has ever done. It has actually done, because immediately that mentality of supreme leadership started, I told our people that this person who has started this is not actually looking for freedom, because there's no world, there's no democracy in the world that will support a man who goes by that that acronym or whatever of a supreme leader. Democracy does not go with supremacy. Anything that has to go with supremacy does not go with democracy. So it will never work anywhere in the world. And since he has started that mentality, he will discover that every democracy in the world has just excluded yourself from them. Everybody is now watching him as he has become a man that you cannot even touch with the longest of people. So Biafrans, as we fight for this struggle, we must get our act right. We must do the tangible things that makes it. It's sometimes in freedom fighting, it's not the big things that actually makes the big difference. No, it's the small things that we do. Things like those allow people to kneel before you, bow before you. From freedom fighting, you are now praying for them, and you don't even know whether to be a freedom fighter or to be a prophet or to be a minister or to be a deliverance minister. Those are things that matter. You must carry yourself with all wisdom if you are into this freedom fighting, because the world is watching. People are taking notes. People are studying who you are. What you say, is it what you do? Because the world is not after those who say one thing and do another thing. Those are the things that we must look out for. And those are how to know the people who really came to freedom fighting. What did they say yesterday? Has it changed from what they were saying? I remember the time somebody was saying that we will never abide with Biafra, that has to do with tea drinking, or that have gotten through referendum. No, that we must have our battlefield supremacy on the battlefield. And out of a sudden now, the same person is thinking about freedom, telling you about, telling you the referendum is coming tomorrow. What else is coming next tomorrow? That shows inconsistency. I must point it out. We must let people know this inconsistency is not what we need. It's better to speak less and do more, rather than speak speak very loud and do less. So I'll stop here for now. Thank you all for listening. Thank you, Mazoji, and thank you all my fellow panelists. Everybody
Okay,
has joined us today. I stay behind now. Thank you.
thank you so much, Chukwuemeka, for your comments. We have already dealt with this issue. We love our people. We love those who have led in so many struggles regarding Biafra. We love their contributions. There might be human mistakes here and there, but if you make a mistake, just like all of us, you just correct it. That's all. You correct it and we move on as a people. We must move on as a people. And we don't want internal rancor to destroy us because, two people are fighting in the media, talking about this person and that person. Those type of rancor is what messes up. It will work against us, not for us anyway. So you may have a difference with somebody of opinion. Please just, you can talk to the person about it. Sometimes, doesn't mean that immediately you talk to somebody will change. And I'm addressing our culture as our people, because not just in Biafran struggle, the way we relate to ourselves, it happens. It doesn't mean the person immediately change. Give him time. He's an adult, to think about what you're saying. Simple. Give him time. Give him some respect. He's not a child. You just say, "Oh, go and do this," and he does go and do this. No, don't talk to people that way. They will throw you out based on the way you have approached the issue in the first place. So when we talk to ourselves, we need to respect ourselves. It's very, very important that we do that as Biafrans. Yeah, you may not agree with what I say, or I may not agree with what you say, but that's okay. I'll give you time to think about it. You see, people may not, you sometimes don't even agree with yourself on certain things because you don't know what to do or how to handle it. That's a fact of human life. And it's important that when we're speaking, we're not speaking, okay, like we have solution to everything. No, we don't. It's a fact. If, getting Biafra, if we have solution to it, we'll go and get it. Anybody can go and get it for us. But it's not possible. That's why we haven't gotten it now. You see? So, and we should eschew all manner of negative behavior or inclinations of, We don't lie when we speak. We don't, what you don't know. We admit our limitations. That's why we say God will give us Biafra, the God of Israel. He's the one that will deliver us, Because let me tell you the truth. If we deliver it ourselves, we'll ruin Biafra. Let me give you a secret. If we deliver Biafra ourselves, we will ruin it. Because we don't have this is a spiritual thing. We don't have the capacity to maintain it. You see people run wild, all these problems you see in the West, it will be child's play. We're talking about gay and lesbian. Oh, you see it in Biafra, come on. We're talking about people people say, oh, there's going to be freedom of religion in Biafra. When you come into Biafra, you can set up mosques. No, you're not going to set up mosques. I'm telling you. That thing is not a religion. I keep saying that. It's not, and because that religion pronounces everybody good for nothing but death. Every other person on this world. And just in case you don't know, I used to say that 270 million people died in 1,400 years because of Islam. The records are taken. There are about 10 million Buddhists who have died. There are about 80 million Hindus. There are about 60 million Christians. And there are about 120 million Africans. Remember that slavery, first major slavery, devastating, it was the trans-Saharan slavery against Africans. It was Arabs that perpetuated it. Arab. This is coming from Arab. So Arab values are something that people need to pay attention to. There are so many things there that are just very objectionable to the way that they see the world from our own eyes and perspective. And we have reasons to back that up, based on what we see them do, based on their historical records, Arabs. The Fulanese are Arabs. You're just talking about, what is his name? El Rufai. El Rufai is an Arab. El Rufai doesn't really care about what you think, frankly. He's simply there to advance Islamization. And he's not pretending about it. He's there to advance Islamization, and there is no pretense about it. We know that El Rufai, at a certain point in history, had also admitted himself that he actually gave some Fulani herdsmen money. He said they are foreigners. They came into the land, and they said, oh, they are cattle. He's always using cattle as an excuse. Oh, they are cattle. Somebody killed their cattle. What is their cattle doing in somebody's land in the first place? What is they doing destroying people's farms? This is their source of food, their source of sustenance, and there is no criticism about that. What are these foreigners doing in Nigeria? Don't we have borders? No, they went and invited them to come in. Said there's no visa to come in. They come in droves. We don't know how many. Some people say up to 1 million people. That is trouble for us. I'm telling you, it's serious trouble for the Christians in Nigeria. They will face that problem. And those in the Middle Belt, I want to let you know, there will be a problem. I want you to know that. Look at the situation. Do not deceive yourself in thinking that, okay, it's not going to be exactly that way. You are going to negotiate yourself out of it. No, that's why I'm asking you. I don't think it's possible. You have to form alliances. You need alliances now more than any other time, so that because there is already the line is drawn for a religious conflict, a very serious religious conflict in Nigeria. Because the only way out is if they force it down the throat of other people or they accept it. I don't know, maybe if they are British overlords, might tell them to stop, maybe. I don't know what, because they obey them. I don't know, they obey them because they have been instruments in robbing oil wealth from Biafra land, and they have shared it amongst themselves. El Rufai, there's a time he shut down 2 churches, seminary. This is the kind of information you keep getting about El Rufai. For example, in Vanguard News of September 16, 2015, they said in Kaduna, El Rufai of Kaduna, Governor El Rufai, ordered the immediate closure of 2 churches, a seminary and a church-owned hospital and secondary school, all in Saminaka, Lere local government area of Kaduna State. He said the closure was to avoid the eruption of violence among factions of the congregations whose leadership positions he described as principally to preserve their personal interests with little concern for the common good and the peace and security of Kaduna. So you can see the strategy of Muslims. They claim they are coming to fix your house when it's not their business to fix your house. And then that is how to put their hand there and cause trouble and, advance jihad. Is a strategy. You can see El-Rufai doing that. There's another thing he did, and there was an article that was written in Vanguard News on Monday, December the 12th, 2016, and it showed here by Chairman Nana, and I want to read this extract regarding El-Rufai. He says, quote, "For those who have been wondering at the temerity of the armed Fulani militias ravaging the Middle Belt and southern communities of Nigeria with impunity and without repercussion, a picture of an insidious international conspiracy is beginning to emerge. El-Rufai has not explained how come the foreign Avengers now descended on non-Muslim communities in the Middle Belt of the north and the southern parts of Nigeria with their cattle. Do people on revenge mission move with their commercial goods like livestock? Does it make sense? Governor Nasser El-Rufai, please join me in considering the meaning of this famous quote attributed to Governor El-Rufai by most newspapers, which he has not denied till date. He declared that after the fact-finding committee headed by retired General Martin Luther Agwai learned about Yakowa's begging mission to Fulani leaders around West Africa, we took certain steps. We got a group of people that were going around trying to trace some of these people in Cameroon, Niger Republic, and so on, to tell them that there is a new governor who is Fulani like them and has no problem paying compensation for lives lost, and he's begging them to stop the killing, you see? In most of the communities, once that appeal was made to them, they said they had forgiven. There are one or two that asked for monetary compensation. They said they have forgiven the death of human beings but want compensation for cattle. So what are you doing? Sorry, I want to just interlude here. What is somebody doing in another person's land? Destroying his land and then he complaining about his cattle. You go and trespass people's land, destroy them, kill them, rape them, and then they fight back. You say, oh, they did something wrong to me. I cannot agree. You have to compensate me. So you see Fulani tactics, Fulani strategy. I want us to understand it, those of us who have not yet. We said no problem and we paid some. You see, they intimidate the Christians to paying them. Since when did governance descend to this low level or Nigeria? So this is not Christians paying, it's just El-Rufai, who is their brother, fellow Fulani, giving Nigerian money, oil money from the Southeast Biafra. I always like to mention that oil money, where it comes from, because all this Nigerian money, corrupt, we will have most acknowledge where it comes from, So there are people being exploited in that land, still being killed. Foreigners, as you described them, come in to kill and displace the people who elected you into power as their chief security officer, to protect them and make lives more abundant. Rather than mobilizing the police and army to flush them out and restore peace in your domain, you use taxpayers' money to compensate them for alleged but unsubstantiated loss of livestock. You see? Is it not obvious even to the most cretinish moron that it is this money that the foreign invaders use to purchase more arms to expand the theater of their barbarian operations further and further south? Any surprise that a menace that used to be isolated in Christian minority communities of Kaduna, Plateau, and Nasarawa states suddenly surged to Benue, Kogi, Enugu, Ebonyi, Abia, Delta, Ondo, Ekiti, Oyo, Oshun, and others, all within the past 18 months? Governor El-Rufai, unlike his co-travelers who prefer to keep conspiratorially mute, has confirmed that he pays foreign invaders and killers compensation, in quote here, quote unquote compensation, to stop killing the people of southern Kaduna. In turn, they use the money to buy more arms and deploy more people to kill more Nigerians. I leave him to the people of Kaduna State to render accounts on how he spends their money. But as for the human deaths that the arming of the foreigners may have caused, El-Rufai may be above Nigerian laws even after he leaves office, but Nigeria is still a signatory to the International Criminal Court at The Hague, where matters like these are looked into tomorrow. Tomorrow will surely come. Chairman Nana in Vanguard News, Monday, December 12, 2016. It's also important to understand that there's also a strategy which these Muslims use. They pay Christian clergymen. They call them mukharabat, paid advocates of Islam. That's it. You see Christians, they keep, these are the people that help in advancing jihad. They pay Christians because they know that there's a lot of them are greedy, so they can take money and then come up and tell people, well, it doesn't matter. Well, let us, let's forgive them. Let's, they say all kinds of things just to confuse you, and they will quote scriptures for it, but it is actually all a plot. It's amazing that they go at great lengths to do all these things. The next broadcast, because we're almost out of time, I will dwell on also certain issues that happened in 2004 in Plateau State. Some raids and some killings that went on in Plateau State. It's still happening. This is about Middle Belt Christian, to the extent that it came to a point by 2012, the Baram people admitted that they've lost about 10,000 people to Fulani attacks. The same people, the Fulani always. And you see Rufai has the guts to come out and speak openly. You see, that's how bad these people are. Even right in front, that is, the evidence is as brazen, as clear as the day, as clear as the sky. But they come out boldly and they are speaking. You see how dangerous these people are? You better know that. So we will round up this broadcast for today. And I would like Mazi Hamid Fulkando to please give us his concluding statements, after which our brother Chuks Ikedigwe will give us his closing remarks for this broadcast. Mazi Hamid Fulkando, if you're there, we would like you to speak to Biafrans. Give them some of your encouraging words and words that are very precious to us to hear, for our younger ones and older ones as well. Everybody needs to hear these advice. The Bible says faith cometh by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. So not that his word, but his word of truth. When you hear something, it helps you to believe in it, but you have to investigate it as well. Thank you, Mazi Hamid Fulkando. You can go on.
Thank you very much, Mazi. Thank you for the broadcast today. Thank you for the information you are really providing your people. There is really nothing to add. We have done justice to what the problem is. First, the problem is the Fulani, based on their belief in their Sharia and the Islamization agenda. Once we understand this, it behooves us to begin having our own plans to really subvert what they are doing. To this effect, I'm calling on the pastors. All pastors in Nigeria have the responsibility of really protecting Southern Kaduna Christians. This is emphasized even by Emmanuel Bosom, Pastor Bosom of the LCCG Church, in his expansion of the contents of the Abuja Declaration of this document. I will always refer to it. It's just like I'm referring to the Abuja Declaration. This document, if understood and if read by everybody in the South and the Middle Belt, believe you me, there will be no reason whatsoever for us to continue procrastinating on how to deal with the Fulani. That document will be a uniting factor for us to come together and say no more this impunity from the Fulanis. That is all. All the problems different Biafran groups are having, they are really not warranted. All right? If you really love Biafra, okay, you will not be doing things in accordance with what the Sharia is saying, with what the Islamization agenda is saying. How much are they going to give to you that will make you forfeit your freedom and your liberation? So I'm really calling, and those of us in Radio Biafra International and BRM, we are calling on everybody, okay? Every church, every part of the South and the Middle Belt should come together. We are crying this. Let us not allow the Lebanese to turn Nigeria into Turkey. That was a Christian society because of the laziness and docility of the Christians. They allow Turkey now to come back to become a Muslim country. So I'm just going to conclude. There's nothing so much to come because we have been talking for more than 5 to 6 years now about the situation in Nigeria. This is time for us to take action. For us in Radio Biafra International and BRM, we have taken our own position. We know where we are going. We are not involved in all the political jingoism that is going on. We have decided that we are going to bring out the truth. That is why we have the collection of research materials that we are constantly going to be presenting that really will address the Fulani situation. Because the moment we address the Fulani situation in Nigeria, then we are going to be safe. So everybody will become happy, and all this infighting will stop. That's all I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop for today. There's nothing else to talk. Mazi Kedigwe said his own part. Moralo said his own part. And when you start to talk to different people, you find that we're all in the same. I use the word, excuse my language, in the same predicament. So we are going to stop it by trying our best to understand one another, edify one another, respect one another, believe that we are not the only island of knowledge. Other people have own knowledge. By putting them all together, we'll be getting closer to Biafra. Thank you very much, Maralo. Thank you, members of the panel, for today. And the listening audience, we look forward to continuing our own area of responsibility towards the liberation and the freedom of Biafra. God bless. Bye-bye. I'm Efla Okando.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mazi Fukando, for those closing remarks. I would like to call on Mazi Kedigwe to give us his closing remarks for the day before we depart. If I can be connected with Mazi Chuks Kedigwe.
Okay, yeah, Chicks is here once more. This is the opportunity to thank everybody for joining us. It's been another wonderful broadcast on the people's favorite radio station, Radio Biafra International. There's something that's happening. There's something that's happening that the Christian world, as in the Nigerian Christian, must focus attention on. This Karma 2020. Okay, they repeal Karma. We used to have Karma 1990, but now it's Karma 2020. The Karma law actually allows the government to now take over, dissolve the trustees of NGOs, because Nigerian religious body, which the church is one of it, has been classified as an NGO now. So it allows the government to just come over and take over the church, take over the trustees, dissolve the trustees, and appoint another one. In other words, I can even appoint a Muslim to start heading a church. Let's say a church like Redeem, a church like Assemblies of God now. Based on what? Based on allegation of a fraud. And this is without recourse to the law. So they can just do it. So our people must keep an eye on that development, because I thank God that some men of God are talking. I thank God that some NGO too, like Serap, has actually rejected it and they want to head to the court. But the main fact of the whole issue lies with the National Assembly, because we say that this National Assembly headed by the APC government is a rubber stamp APC. For them to have made that kind of law, in spite of all the opposition, in spite of all this thing that people raised when they were still debating that law, you actually tell that they can just wake up and make one decision, make one law that will take all of us down. They will make one law that will scatter your business and what have you. This for the court to open, for them to they now want to tax the churches. This one now empowers them to just come over, remove the trustees of the bar, which means for for example, the GO who has been working for his church for over 20 years, somebody can just wake up and take over the business from him and put his own brother. So our people must watch over that, and we must watch it strategically. We must know where this government is headed to, and that's why I ask our people: this is time to wake up. This is no longer time to sleep. This is no longer the time when others are talking. Say it does not concern you. If it does not concern you today, it's going to concern you tomorrow, because they have a strategic mission that they are actually pursuing. And I had Maza Ahamefula talking about the Abuja Declaration. These are just working out the Abuja Declaration. But the mistake most Christians made was when we are warning them about what Buhari has come to do, they were so carried away by politics then that we actually sided with him. But now the chicken has come to roast. Okay, the chicken has come back to roast. They are all crying now, but we want them beforehand. So I want our people to focus on that, follow that news, know the implications, and I bet you at the end of the day, we'll have every reason to tell them, oh, we warned you before. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mazi Keriwe, for that. Our listeners, I'm sorry I skipped, because of time, I skipped reporting on this CAMA, which stands for Companies and Allied Matters Act, which was assented to by President Muhammadu Buhari, actually. Yeah, and the implications. He repealed the Companies and Allied Matters Act of 1990. He assented this in 2020. When they're saying he assented, he's not the one there, so it could be just anybody there, doing the thing. One of his speakers, one of his assistants, or something like that. They're having a problem. They're in a deep problem because the real Buhari is dead. Died 2017, actually. You may have heard it from Mazi Nnamdi Kanu a lot, which is true. He's correct. I believe what he said about that. And, so many people who are observing that this man is no longer there. He's gone. So, so the law, to say the least, is simply unacceptable. It's ungodly. So they can say reprehensible and ill. It's an ill wind that blows no one no good. They called it a time bomb waiting to explode. So, because the church is supposed to be a non-governmental organization, all of a sudden the government is to control the church. They started to snuff life out of the church and rank the church as a secular institution under secular control. To quote Khan, they said, "We thought it was all over until we heard of the CAMA that was assented to by the president, making the rejected bill a law." The bill was rejected and he signed. Now, when I'm talking about Islam, you need to understand this. I mean, do the research yourself. This is a non-negotiable cultist religion. Even though the bill was rejected, this man went ahead and signed it. The impunity, the violation with impunity is what Islam is all about. They don't leave anything, unadulterated, undestroyed. Everything is destruction, just as you have their life go. The satanic section of the controversial and ungodly law is in section 839. I'm quoting Khan now, section 839, 1 and 2, which empowers the commission to suspend trustees of an association, in this case, the church, and appoint the interim managers to manage the affairs of the association for some given reasons, unquote. So you can see that, the church cannot be controlled by the government because it has spiritual responsibilities and obligations. So this is an obnoxious and ungodly law indeed, which is being implemented. How can the government negate its constitutional responsibility and delve into non-governmental affairs? You see? So, why is this going on? This CAMA, they said it's an invitation for trouble. If the government, because the government does not have the power to manage the church, and you wonder where is the mosque in all this, because they want to use Muslims, impose Muslims there, put their own Christians there who will represent them, and tank the whole system. So, this is a very big problem. If the government is bent on imposing a law on which the entire church in Nigeria is against, like they said, then they have declared war on Christianity, and the agenda to destroy the church, which has been spoken against before now, is coming to the open more clearly. So this is the truth about karma. Karma will be karma to them finally, by God's grace. Because like I said, stop thinking that they are reasonable. That if you're Muslim, your brain must be suspended. You must be held to follow that religion by fear and intimidation, so that you simply do what you're told. You are indoctrinated until your brain cannot reason independently anymore. That is the idea. You don't reason independently. Your conscience will be suppressed because you have it there speaking to you, but it will be suppressed so that, whatever they want, their will can be done. So on this note, I will say thank you for our listeners today. Next time, we are going to speak on also certain things that are happening in the Middle Belt, and may God guide us. I use this opportunity to thank our supporters and to thank the able panelists, Meflu Kando and Chuksi Kerigwe, and of course, the man who is at the base of it, the computer expert, and someone who is very knowledgeable in that area and has of international repute, our dear Leo and Emina, for holding on to this radio through which we have been able to reach out to you. We understand that everybody doesn't read newspapers but some people might listen to radio. So whichever source, but get the information, because that's the most important thing. Get the information. Know when you know something, you are like halfway secure because you know it. But if you don't, if you're not knowing, I mean, just know it off head, but you're not conscious. Being conscious of it is very important. And it's security that we are trying to get our people to be conscious of. Because yes, they know that there is risk. Some of them are not conscious of it. So they just wait until something starts happening to them. Then they begin to wonder, what is this? What is this? They begin to ask questions. But if they knew ahead, it's easier for them to protect themselves. So remember to keep the covenant. And when I mean the covenant, I mean the biblical covenant between God and Israel. Please do that. Read Deuteronomy 26 to 28. That will help you to understand. And read the New Testament, John's Gospel. You can be able to understand why it's important to keep that covenant. For our protection comes from the Lord. We look up to the hills from where our help comes from. It comes from the Lord God Almighty, the maker of heaven and earth. Thank you so much, and God bless you. My name is Odi Moalo.
Radio Biafra International, empowering the people.
The more we fight together, the more we fight together, then stronger we shall be. The more we fight together, the more we fight together, and stronger we shall be. Rising soul, rising soul. Biafra is the only hope of Africa. Biafra is the only hope of Africa. Believe it or leave it, Biafra is the only hope of Africa. We've been crying, the world cannot to hear. And we've been lamenting, the world cannot to hear. Our tears flow, the world cannot to see. And our blood flow, the world cannot to see. This is a crime, oh no, against humanity. Oh no, yeah, this is a crime. Eritreans spoke out, they were given independence. South Sudan spoke, they were given independence. Namibia spoke, they were given independence. Give me the reason my people got to be neglected. Give me the reason my people got to be rejected. Give me the reason our freedom got to be a crime. Give me the reason our own freedom got to be denied. Hey, Biafra is the only hope of Africa. I tell you what, Biafra is the only hope of Africa. Hey, Biafra is the only hope of Africa. Believe it or leave it. Oh no. Whoa. That was physical battle, and we're betrayed by the people them trust. Today heroes are fighting. This is a spiritual battle. Let us unite and give Biafra a meaning. If we don't take time, we got to remain in this land. No freedom of speech, no freedom of expression, no freedom of worship, no freedom of religion. Justice denied. Oh, of my own very people. Hey. Justice denied. Hey. On the rising sun. Hey. Justice denied. Oh, my freedom fighter. Yeah. What is so bad? My people wanna be liberated. What is so bad? My people wanna be independent. What is so bad? My people wanna be alone. This is the time we will make it known to the world. Hey, Biafra is the only hope of Africa. Biafra is the only hope of Africa. Biafra is the only hope of Africa. I tell you what, Biafra is the only hope of Africa. Hospitality, positive, education, positive, economic, positive, hospitality. I tell you what, positive. Biafra is the only hope of Africa. Biafra is the only hope of Africans. I tell you what, Biafra is the only hope of Africa. Hey, Biafra is the only hope of Africa. My people will cry. Biafrans will cry. My people are suffering. Oh, Biafrans are crying.
Radio Biafra is proud to launch its new mobile app. This app makes it easier for listeners to access live and repeat broadcasts at any given time. The app is available on Android and Apple stores and is free to install, so just search for Radio Biafra in all one word to get the app on your device.
Radio Biafra International broadcasts are always anchored on well-researched information and not based on personalities, frivolities, and foul languages. The main objective of Radio Biafra International is to empower Biafrans and give them knowledge through professionally delivered information, education, and enlightenment towards the ultimate goal of restoration of the nation of Biafra.
So don't forget, Radio Biafra into all one word.
And join us during our podcasts, and you'll be glad you did.
Oh yeah, why, Mr. Friday, equity, yeah, boy. What we need is freedom. Agitation is all that we do. Total freedom, now waiting we want. Drop your gun, no, na peaceful contest. If you kill low, you don't send me down. Agitation is all that we do. Total freedom, now waiting we want. Drop your gun, no, na peaceful contest. If you kill low, you don't send me down.
I wake up in the morning to see people falling. I wake up in the morning to see army shooting. What are they shooting? And who is running? All of the soldiers that we might live. Come to Abia, there is bloodshed. The blood of the innocent are calling for revenge. Come to Abia, there is bloodshed. All of the soldiers that we might live. Come to Abia, there is bloodshed. Innocent souls are calling for revenge. Though we raise a flag, they shoot us down. Biafra, we stand and nothing more. But they are shooting, and we are dying, and we are marching out today in thousands. Though we speak out loud, they shoot us down. Biafra, we stand and nothing more.
Agitation is all that we do. Total freedom, now waiting we want. Drop your gun, no, na peaceful contest. If you kill low, you don't send me down. Agitation is all that we do. Total freedom, now waiting we want. Drop your gun, no, na peaceful contest. If you kill low, you don't send me down. Many things where they happen for Niger. Many things where they happen, I don't like them. Every day shooting and killing, my brother. People dying like flies, it no good, oh. Oh no, it no good, oh. Killing innocent people fighting for the right, it no good, oh. Our state is on fire now. All we need is our freedom. Baba God in the sky, I they call you. All the people of the east, I they hear you. Make we keep them on the move, we go make them. God helping us, all we go make them. Agitation is all that we do. Total freedom, now waiting we want. Drop your gun, no, na peaceful contest. If you kill low, you don't send me down. Agitation is all that we do. Total freedom, now waiting we want. Drop your gun, no, na peaceful contest. If you kill low, you don't send me down. Agitation is all that we do. Total freedom, now waiting we want. Drop your gun, no, na peaceful contest. If you kill low, you don't send me down. Waiting we want on a total freedom. Waiting we need on a total freedom. Waiting we want on a total freedom. Oluwa, oh, a total freedom. You don't send me down. You don't send me down. You don't send me down. If you kill low, you don't send me down. This makes sense.
jadi dia the masa 2020. I think champion of Bakola Kungwe no no from before you be fair with you. Because when you stay safe, we must have coronavirus money from Mado. If someone is here about holiday now, what can you get there? I want to know before you be fair with you.
Truer words were never spoken. The less you associate with some people, the more your life will improve. Anytime you tolerate mediocrity in others, it increases your mediocrity. An important attribute in successful people is their impatience with negative thinking and negative acting people. As you grow, your associates will change. Some of your friends will not want you to go on. They will want you to stay where they are. Friends that don't help you climb will want you to crawl. Your friends will stretch your vision or choke your dream. Those that don't increase you will eventually decrease you. Consider this. Never receive counsel from unproductive people. Never discuss your problems with someone incapable of contributing to the solution, because those who never succeed themselves are always first to tell you how. Not everyone has a right to speak into your life. You are certain to get the worst of the bargain when you exchange ideas with the wrong person. Don't follow anyone who's not going anywhere. With some people, you spend an evening. With others, you invest it. Be careful where you stop to inquire for directions along the road of life. Wise is the person who fortifies his life with the right friendships. If you run with wolves, you will learn how to howl. But if you associate with eagles, you will learn how to soar to great heights. A mirror reflects a man's face, but what he is really like is shown by the kind of friends he chooses. The simple but true fact of life is that you become like those with whom you closely associate, for the good and the bad. Note, be not mistaken. This is applicable to family as well as friends. Yes, do love, appreciate, and be thankful for your family, for they will always be your family, no matter what. Just know that they are human first, and though they are family to you, they may be a friend to someone else and will fit somewhere in the criteria above. In prosperity, our friends know us. In adversity, we know our friends. Never make someone a priority when you are only an option for them. If you are going to achieve excellence in big things, you develop the habit in little matters. Excellence is not an exception, it is a prevailing attitude.
Biafra International, empowering the people.